Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream. It's been a couple of weeks since the last one, and we did a reaction stream last week, but now here we are, the business end of Gameweek 22. We finally approached the deadline, and I haven't made any transfers just yet, but we did get big news and confirmation today about Erling Haaland, and he could still come into my team as discussed in my initial team selection video. And in the final team selection, I talked about possibly rolling, and if I were to make a move, maybe go for a Diogo Jota, for example. De Bruyne, I wouldn't completely rule out of my thinking either, but I think Haaland is more likely to come in than Kevin De Bruyne, despite the fact that De Bruyne is probably much more likely to start in Gameweek 22. I'm going to go straight into your questions as always. Be sure to drop a like and also subscribe to the channel. A massive shout out to all channel members and patrons as always. I'll be shouting out your names very soon. So let's get straight into it, and we'll talk about my final team when it comes to it. I'll probably still hold off a little bit before finalizing my team completely, but what you see is very close to what you're going to get. There's still a bit of deliberation in terms of the captaincy and also in terms of my final transfer. Thank you to Ray with the first super chat of the afternoon. And he says, Dubravka, Areola, Gabriel, Saliba, Joachim Andersen, Tsimikas, Borja, Saka, Nakamba, Foden, Palmer, Richarlison, Watkins, Solanke, Haaland. Thinking of Tsimikas and Nakamba to Walker and Bowen for a -4, have 5.6 million in the bank. Thoughts? I think that looks pretty spot on, and if I were to buy a defender right now, it would be Kyle Walker. I don't think he's the best overall, but over the next 5 game weeks with the fixtures Man City have, including Burnley in Gameweek 22 and that double in Gameweek 25, the fact that Walker's so nailed on, I think he's a good purchase. As for Bowen, look, he's still one of the best midfielders in the game, but his appeal has certainly dropped a bit with Paqueta still injured. Kudus is coming back, and I think that will only boost Bowen's appeal. And as I'll talk about soon with the captaincy options, Bowen has an okay record against Bournemouth and scored against them back in Gameweek 1 this season. But I'm looking at the midfielders you have, and I'd also consider Jota, but I probably can see why you're not going for it, or you haven't, recommended it in your message, because you already have a few Spurs, Liverpool and Chelsea players, and you're probably thinking about navigating Gameweek 26. So if you don't want to go for Jota in the midfield, I think Bowen is absolutely fine, and I think that's a really good set of transfers. I completely agree with it. Even for a -4 here, it's certainly worth it. Tsimikas will be back around February, probably in mid-February, but it's worth selling him, of course, and Nakamba isn't really going to offer you anything anyway. So yeah, the 2 transfers are absolutely fine. I prefer Jota over Bowen, but with blank Gameweek 26 in mind, I don't really mind going for Bowen in the first place. So really good transfers, and I have to say, they're going to do very well for you. Mohammed says who to start, Palmer or Gordon? I would go for Palmer this week, but it's a close one. I think both of them have a low ceiling based on the fixtures, but I think Palmer's more likely to return, with penalties being one of his weapons there. Aviad M says, big dilemma. Start with Haaland and Robinson, Fulham, or Trent and Alvarez. I don't know why, but I feel Haaland tomorrow will score 2 off the bench. Yes, but as a duo, it has to be said, Trent and Alvarez looks more appealing, and I think it's going to be more well-rounded for your team. And with Haaland, as you say, you probably think he's going to be off the bench, but yeah, I mean, look, you have to back your gut always, and if you think Haaland's going to score 2 off the bench, that's a big return, and you could even captain him. But in my personal opinion, for Gameweek 22, I think Trent and Alvarez looks better. Patrick says, hi Dylan, who is the best captain for this game week, Foden, Alvarez or Bowen, due to the insecurity of City players' minutes with both De Bruyne and Haaland back? Good luck this week. I'm currently going for Foden, but I have to say, it's not the most convinced I've been about the captaincy, and I've also gotten it quite wrong a lot of times this season. I normally am a bit better with the captaincy, especially in UCL Fantasy and previous FPL campaigns, but I think from those 3, my favourite right now would be Foden. I still think he starts, and he could do very well against Burnley, so yeah, I'd opt for Foden at this moment in time. Sudindra says, hey Dylan, planning to sell Son to KDB, then would need to bench one of Saka, Tony, Watkins. Oof. And if Gabriel is out, which one of Mikalenko, Gay to put as first sub? I'd rather put Gay first on the bench with Sheffield United at home. As for the other question, who to bench out of Saka, Tony, Watkins, not Watkins for me. I'd definitely start him, and I'd probably bench Tony, despite the fact that Spurs are quite poor defensively. Do you think captaining City defender is a good move? I don't think so. So with these defenders, they've got a low ceiling. If they ever get bonus points, it will be in a narrow victory where they keep a clean sheet. And I think City will put 3 or 4 past Burnley at the very least. So I don't think Walker, his ceiling for me is probably 6-7 points. I don't think he'll get you anything more than that, unless, you get these customary, or not customary, but you get one of these odd goals from a defender like Gavardi or from a set piece. I mean, it's up to you. Always back your gut, I have to say that, and I haven't been great with the captaincy this season, but I don't think captaining a City defender is the right move. Ken Back says, afternoon Dylan, who to bench, Gabriel or Saliba? Probably Gabriel, just because he might I don't think it will happen, but there is a chance where he comes off early and maybe he was rushed back in, or he comes off from the bench. And despite the fact that he generally has more attacking threat than Saliba throughout his Premier League career, I think I'd go for Saliba based on the possibility of reduced minutes or maybe coming off a bit earlier. And that can also play into your hands if, let's say, Gabriel comes off around 60, 70 minutes, which I don't think is going to happen, and let's say Arsenal secure a clean sheet and then concede later on. But I just think Saliba's just a better option to start this week. Play Alvarez and bring in Haaland for Gameweek 23. If Haaland was ruled out of the squad, then yes, I think that would have been the play. But now with Haaland potentially starting, which we can't rule out definitively, I'm not so sure about that. Wildcard team, there's a video about that, Abu, so be sure to check that out. Not much has changed. I talk about a team that includes a lot of Liverpool, Spurs and Chelsea players, and then talk about ways you can trim that down if you want to navigate blank Gameweek 26 without one of the chips, like the free hit. Thank you, John. And as he says, shout out to all the channel members and patrons as always. Captain KDB or Estupinian? I would captain KDB this week, and despite Estupinian being very good since he's come back from injury, I don't think that's the play to captain him. I think Luton Town will score. Haaland situation. I covered in the community tab of the YouTube channel. Pep Guardiola said he should be available for selection, so he should be in the squad, but we don't know if he's going to start or not. That's the big question, and I think a lot of Man City fans would probably lean towards him being benched, but he could easily come off the bench and do something. We all know that. Would you do Watkins to Darwin or Bowen to Jota or burn a transfer? No other moves to make, says Yogesh. I wouldn't do Watkins to Darwin. I still think Watkins is the better option. Bowen to Jota, I'm a bit more open to, but still, I think Bowen is a good hold in my opinion. So I'd probably just wait, roll the transfer, have more information in Gameweek 23, and then you can bring in Jota, especially if Liverpool have a double in Gameweek 25. Is Gabriel fit? According to Arteta, it's close. It's touch and go with him and Declan Rice, but reports do indicate that Gabriel will play, and this has been the case for over a week. And to be fair, he came off of a knock against Palace. It's nothing serious. I think he'll be available and start. Arteta's never going to give much away in his press conference, but I think Gabriel is absolutely fine. But like I said earlier to someone else, because of that yellow flag and potential complications, you know, it might be a bit risky regardless, and I'd rather go for Saliba over Gabriel this week. So I'll actually show you right now, because we've got a lot of news to cover. So we'll start off with the Haaland update by Pep Guardiola. He says Erling Haaland will be selected for the first time he's back. That's what he said. But he also used this word. He said apparently. You know how Pep Guardiola is, and who knows, maybe Haaland will just be rushed back in. And they actually asked him, to compare the situations between Haaland and De Bruyne, asking if he's going to be, you know, managed back in and eased back in. And Guardiola said, well, it's different situations and Haaland's injury isn't as serious. So who knows at this point? And also, a few comments he's made in the past, like last season, that Haaland has this quick recovery time and he can play every single 2 or 3 days due to his age. So it would not surprise me at all if Haaland started. And if we get leaks before the deadline that he does start, he's coming into my team, most likely for Cameron Archer. Now, the other news here is by SR Collins, and he says Declan Rice and Gabriel Magalhaes should be past fit to start today. And the other news we got is about Mohamed Salah. Jurgen Klopp said he is not ready, out for this game, out for the next, which is against Arsenal in Gameweek 23. It could have been worse, but he is not available at the moment. And this is a predicted lineup from a Man City fan. Of course, not everything will be spot on, but I think it gives you a good insight into the very likely 11 we'll see. And it has Alvarez in there with Erling Haaland on the bench and Kevin De Bruyne also in the starting lineup. I also think he will start, but the chances are slightly lower compared to the rest of the players in that starting 11, with the exception of Jack Grealish. And I've got some polls out on my channel, which I'm going to show you very soon. But let's quickly go back to your questions and comments as always. Dave says, how's it, Dylan? Hope you're well, mate. Likewise, thank you very much, and greetings to everyone. Start Palmer or Estupinian? I'd go for Palmer. I'd favour the attack in this case. I'm not a big fan of either this week, but I think I'd go for Palmer. Hey mate, who's the best captain for this game week? Richarlison, Foden or Saka? Out of those three, Foden is my favourite based on the fixture and also his consistency over the last couple of weeks, although you could argue Richarlison has been more consistent recently. Would you sell Saka for KDB? I don't mind it as a one-week punt, and I'm actually looking at selling Saka in the weeks to come, maybe to Diego Jota in Game Week 23. But also think about it this way, and I think this should be the determining factor for you. If buying De Bruyne in for Saka means you can't get Erling Haaland back in Game Week 23, then I'd probably just save that transfer and buy Erling Haaland back when possible. I'd rather have Haaland than Kevin De Bruyne, and that won't change. Mark Castley says, hi, thoughts on bringing in Foden for Salah and starting Gross over Gabriel? I think both of them are a tick. I'd absolutely agree with those decisions, and I'd go for it. Solanke or Watkins for Haaland? I'd rather sell Solanke still, but the problem is as well is budget. Solanke is cheaper. Watkins has better fixtures, but with Solanke, he could have a double by Game Week 29 or beforehand. So it's a difficult one between those two, and Watkins could still blank in Game Week 29 depending on their result against Chelsea in the FA Cup 4th round replay. So, of course, a lot is still up in the air, but in terms of fixtures and the consistency, I'd rather keep Watkins and sell Solanke. Leonardo says, took a couple of hits to bring in Estupiñán, Foden and De Bruyne. I mean, look, sometimes FPL is about risk and about luck as well, falling in your favour. I don't mind captaining De Bruyne this week. If you back him to start and get 60, 70 minutes, I think that's enough to captain him. But at the same time, there is a chance he's going to be off the bench, or that he gets 50 minutes or so and, let's say, for example, is subbed off very early on. You just never know with De Bruyne. He has been a very injury-prone player over the last couple of seasons, but I don't mind De Bruyne as a captain. Would I captain Foden instead? Probably. That's the safer pick, but safer isn't always the best option. Salah to Bernardo or KDB? I'd go for KDB in that instance. I think Bernardo's a very good option from time to time, but mainly in away matches. He's got a pretty poor home record with the exception of that Bournemouth win, which was a massive one for Man City. Weiseng says Alvarez plus Son -4 to Haaland and someone else, or roll and do it free next week. I'd probably do it next week. You could do Son out this week for free, but with Alvarez, I'd probably keep him for one more game week. Walker or Estupiñán says Pujan. Walker this week for sure. And over the next 3 or 4, I'd also favour Walker. Longer term, you know, not looking just at the medium or short term, I think Estupiñán is better overall. But for the next couple, I'd say Walker. If I'm buying one right now, I'd go for the Man City defender. Hi, Dylan, missed the start. Any news? Is Akanji fit? I think we talked about this in the comments section of a recent video, and I actually put the update that Guardiola said today. He is available now. That doesn't mean he's definitely going to start, but it is encouraging, and Akanji will be in the squad. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate moderating the chat. Trippier starting, play Trippier or Gordon? Yeah, I think so. Who would I play out of the two? Probably still Gordon. I think Newcastle will concede a couple, and Gordon could get something on the counter-attack. With Trippier, of course, he's still capable of assists, and he's very good from set pieces, but yeah, I'd rather go for Gordon this week. Who to bench, Doughty or Emerson, sorry. I think I'd bench Doughty. Tricky one, but I'd bench Doughty. Do you have any worries about Foden's minutes or him playing on the right rather than the midfield position? Not really. The position could slightly change, but I think he will coexist with De Bruyne and Haaland once he returns. But I think Foden will start this week, and he's one of the most nailed-on City players at the moment. That could certainly change, but I think in Game Week 22 he should be safe. Leave Haaland on my bench then. If you have Haaland, I think you should start him. Of course, you might then say, well, who do I bench? Cole Palmer or someone like that, and maybe I'd still favor Haaland just in case, but I wouldn't bench Haaland if you have him. Hi, Areola or Martinez? I'd go for Areola. Start Palmer or Garnacho? Palmer. ANWJ says who to bench, Odegaard or João Pedro? I'd rather bench Odegaard. Bojan Zupak says Nunez and Foden or Jota and Alvarez only for this game week. Probably Jota and Alvarez. Gabriel, cheap replacement. I have Estupiñán and Borro. I don't think you need to sell Gabriel, though. Even if he misses out this week, he's a good hold until Game Week 29 and beyond, especially if Arsenal have that fixture against Chelsea go ahead in blank Game Week 29, which is subject to the FA Cup 4th round and 5th round, respectively. But if you were to replace Gabriel and you're looking for a cheap option, well, I think Walker for a similar price is decent, but if you want cheaper than that, then I'd probably be looking at maybe a Palace defender. I mean, it's not ideal, to be fair. Doughty is another one, but he blanks in Game Week 26. I'm not a big fan of the budget defenders in particular. But yeah, Richards for 3.9 million could be a shout. Gay as well at 4.5 million. And you've also got Gusto, but of course, take into account blank Game Week 26. Also about Eze for a hold until Salah's back. I like him for this week on paper, but Palace are such an inconsistent team, and it wouldn't surprise me if they barely won, like 1-0, for example. But Eze could still do something there, gets a goal and maximum bonus points. That's certainly possible, and he's on penalties. But yeah, I think there are better midfielders out there. Richarlison, Jota, Bowen, Foden, even De Bruyne. Salah, of course, once he comes back, but that is probably something to wait on. Saka, I still think, is a better option. So yeah, it's not a bad option, I think, Eze, but there are better choices elsewhere. Bowen in or KDB? Bowen is the safer pick. KDB has the higher ceiling this week, but I'd rather go for Bowen, and I'd rather cover Man City offensively with Foden and Erling Haaland. Neto or Solanke bench. Tricky one, but I'd probably bench Neto. Who would you start between Gordon and Palmer? Palmer. Who's the better captain, Foden or Richarlison? This question has been spammed, but we have covered it already. So yeah, any spam questions won't be answered. Try not to spam. It'd be greatly appreciated. For some reason, it's not letting me moderate the chat. So yeah, if there are any moderators in the chat, be sure to deal with that. Unfortunately, I just can't even deal with the messages right now. Let's see. All right, I'm going to have to use another browser for that. So it's not really ideal, but there you go. Start Gross or Gabriel? Gross. Captain Alvarez or Foden? Probably Foden. If I was convinced of Alvarez starting, though, then I would lean towards him. But with the Erling Haaland situation, I think I just go for Foden. Pick 7 to start. So basically bench 1, right? Says Mohammed. So yeah, out of those 8, I would probably bench Isak. It's between him and Palmer, and I'd probably bench Isak. Captain Foden, Alvarez, Jota or Saka? Foden is my preference right now. That may change though, I'm not going to lie to you, and my captaincy picks have been very poor recently. Buffy says, good day. Who to sell for Haaland, Watkins or Solanke? Like I said to someone else earlier, Solanke would be the preference to sell. Last time Newcastle scored a goal versus Villa away was in 2014. Wow. And they did get battered last season, actually, now that I think about it. Watkins has never blanked against Newcastle at home. 3 goals in 2 home games, so maybe that could also play into your thinking. Van Heck could be a decent budget defender at 4 million. Yes, that's actually not a bad shout. I do prefer Stupinian, but Van Heck would be the second best Brighton defender. I like that pick. Who to bench between Richarlison, Saka and Palmer, says Alex Evans. Probably Palmer. Would you get KDB or Foden? I'd still rather go for Foden. Gabriel starting? I think so. I just showed some news which indicate that he will start. Same with Declan Rice. Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal and Liverpool versus Chelsea predictions. Well, that game tends to be a draw between Liverpool and Chelsea, but I'm going to go for a Liverpool win. Probably 3-1 to Liverpool. As for Nottingham Forest Arsenal, I mean, Arsenal haven't won there in a long time. They've lost the last 3 meetings at the City Ground. But I'll probably go for an Arsenal win 2-1. I think it'll be very tight, and it wouldn't surprise me if Forest got a result. Captain KDB or Bowen? I'd be tempted by KDB, I'm not going to lie to you if I had him, but I'd probably go for Bowen. Who to start? Gabriel, Saliba? I've covered. I would go for Saliba. Dreaming FPL says, hi. Benching dilemma, bench 1 of Gabriel or Stupinian? I'd bench Gabriel. And bench 1 of Gordon, Palmer or Solanke? I would bench Gordon. And captain dilemma, my preference would be Phil Foden. Who's the Brighton goalkeeper? It's Jason Steele at the moment. He's starting 3 games. He has started 3 games in a row in the league. But throughout the season, there has been rotation between Verbruggen and Jason Steele. If Steele can nail down a spot and become the undisputed #1 in the Premier League, then I think he's a good option until Gameweek 29. Hi mate, bring Gordon or Eze, says Kuka. I'd rather bring in Gordon. Welcome, JP. Hopefully you got the question, the answer to your question. Sell Salah and Archer to Haaland and Bowen? Yes, I would do that. And even if Haaland doesn't play this week, you've got that transfer locked in and ready for Gameweek 23. Is Haaland worth buying in for a -4? Tricky one. I'd lean more towards no, but it also depends who you're selling. So if you're doing Archer to Haaland, and then you're also selling Salah or Son, then I think it is worth a -4 here, especially if you bring in a midfielder like Jota or Bowen. So let me know what the context is. Captaining Pedro over Foden, I wouldn't call it stupid, mate. And sometimes you've got to be different, and that's the way you gain rank over the others. I mean, I think I've been quite template with my captaincy picks this season, and that has definitely held me back, that's for sure. I genuinely just go for the most, or just the player I expect the most from, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. Let me actually show you some polls quickly before going back to your question. So, well, I'm going to wait for some more votes. I'm going to refresh this because I'm going to refresh this page, and then you'll see I put a question on my YouTube channel. Will you buy Haaland back in Gameweek 22? And 69% of you have said no. I'll wait until Gameweek 23. I think that makes sense. And then I put another poll out. Do you think Haaland will start? I put 2 of them. One last week and one now, today, after the update by Pep Guardiola. 57% of you have said no. You don't expect Haaland to start. Then we've also got which move do you prefer? And this is what I could end up doing in Gameweek 22. 50% of you said roll the transfer, whilst 34% said do Gross to Jota, and then 16% of you said Archer to Alvarez. Of course, each one of those options do incur their own problems and pros, so there's no maybe right or wrong answer, but my preference right now is to roll the transfer. And then there's this. Who are you going to captain? Now, these 4 players, unfortunately, I can't add more options whilst having the image polls, but Foden does lead the vote with almost half of the 3.3k votes there. In second place is Alvarez with 21%. In third is Jota with 18%. And Richarlison is last with 15%. And a lot of the comments do talk about captaining, for example, De Bruyne, which I don't mind at all this week, to be fair. Then there is this one, which is about which player would you bench? And this would be the case if I buy Haaland in for Cameron Archer. And 37% of you have gone for Gross. Then it's Palmer in second with 28%, Solanke third with 19%, and Saka's last with 16%. So this is players to bench in the case that I need to do that with the Erling Haaland transfer. Let's now go for a few different screens as well. And that is going to be the FDR. Man City are top with a double game week in 25 and good fixtures before and afterwards. Newcastle, Fulham, Villa and Brighton complete the top 5. And if we look at the bottom 5, we've got Chelsea, Liverpool, Luton Town, Burnley and Bournemouth. And of course, 3 of the bottom teams, the bottom 3, all have a blank in Game Week 26. But remember, Liverpool and Luton, that fixture that got postponed from Game Week 26 could fall under Game Week 25, thus forming a double game week for both teams. Then we've got the predicted points for Game Week 22. Bowen is top with 6.2 according to Fantasy Football Hub. Saka, Foden, Eze and Alexander-Arnold are in the top 5. We've also got Darwin, De Bruyne, Maddison, Richarlison and Tony in the top 10. And the last thing I want to show you for now is the predicted price rises and falls. Areola and Estupinian could be going up in price tonight. In terms of price falls, though, you've got Salah, Szoboszlai, Almiron, Elanga, Mikel Antonio, Heung-min Son, and a few other options there like Lascelles, who I've got, Taylor, Kabore, and even Alvarez, which is quite strange. And some of you may be surprised to see that Foden is one of the most transferred out players heading into Game Week 22. So let me know what you think of that. I think it's probably a bit reactionary based on his blank in Game Week 21 and also in the FA Cup against Tottenham. But there you go. That's the way FPL can be. And yeah, I'm going to show you this for now is Drafthound. There is a link in the description below. Be sure to sign up as a pro pay-tier member for as little as £2 per week. I would encourage you to try out first, and then, you know, if you like it, you can continue using it. They've got a new feature now called Player Scouting, so be sure to check it out as a pro pay-tier member. And it's very in-depth with so many different metrics to analyze some under-the-radar picks and the best options to buy over the next 5 game weeks, which they've also added to Drafthound. They've got that new feature of expected points over the next 5. And they do have some interesting names in there. Let me just toggle this. So Gabriel, Alvarez, Bernardo, Foden and De Bruyne are in the top 5 and 6. I think Gabriel could be ignored there. I think that is probably a bit of a glitch. But Alvarez, Bernardo, Foden, De Bruyne and Walker. So it's all Man City centric. And these are updated regularly. Player scouting is new, so of course it's still in kind of beta mode, I believe, but you've got so many different options. Player rankings as well is very impressive. Palmer's been leading the next 3 game weeks for such a long time, and you've also got the optimization tool, and they're recommending Saliba in for Solanke, but I'm currently going for the latter. I'm going for Solanke in my starting 11, and Gabriel is on my bench. They're also recommending Palmer as my vice captain, with Phil Foden taking the armband, but they're also recommending some transfers, and that includes bringing in Diogo Jota in, and that is for, I think it's for Pascal Gross or for Bukayo Saka. Actually, no, it's for Jared Bowen, and the other move would be to do something like Trent Alexander-Arnold to Gabriel. Once again, I do think that is a bit of a visual glitch, but be sure to check out Draftdown. There is a link in the description below. That will certainly be updated and rectified very soon. And just for those of you that are new to the live chat, you can see Guardiola says Haaland will be selected for the first time he's back. I covered this already, but just going through it again. We've also got news that Rice and Gabriel should be past fit to start today. And that is the early kickoff. You could argue early at 7:30 p.m. It's the first match of Game Week 22. We've also got the Salah news. He's missing Game Week 22 and 23. But he hasn't been ruled out for Game Week 24 against Burnley at home. And then we've got this City predicted lineup that I went through earlier today. And now let's go through a stats comparison before we go back to my team and your questions. It's Jota versus Richarlison. In pretty much all of these metrics, apart from assists, Richarlison does lead. He's also more nailed on at the moment, and he's potentially on penalties. But Jota is such a clinical player. He's got half the XG that Richarlison has, and yet he has the same number of goals in fewer minutes and appearances. 4 big chances for Jota and 7 goals is ridiculous. 2 big chances created. I mean, the stats aren't particularly great. And actually, if anything, it's the creativity stats where Jota does lead over Richarlison. But in terms of his finishing, Jota's probably one of the better finishers in the league. And I would favour Jota over Richarlison because, yes, both blank in Gameweek 26. And whilst Richarlison has a confirmed fixture in blank Gameweek 29, Jota could have a double in Gameweek 25, and while Salah is out, I think Jota should start the vast majority of games, and even off the bench, he can do very well in just 20 or 30 minutes. Let's now go back to my team, and you can see what I'm currently going for. Foden with the captaincy armband, and Watkins as the vice, but I have to say, I am quite tempted to change the captain and go for something a bit different, but the last time I did that, I went for Watkins over Salah and lost out on 8 points there as a result. So I'm not so sure about that, but let's wait and see, of course. And let's go back to your questions. We do have over 200 people watching. Let's get the stream to over 100 likes. I'll be gifting 5 more memberships in today's stream. I gifted 5 in the last reaction stream, so be sure to tune in for that as well. What happened to Gross? He blanked 3 games in a row. I've only had him for 1 in the Premier League, but he also blanked in the FA Cup. In a 5-2 victory as well. For him to only muster 1 key pass is quite discouraging, but I think with Gross he's still a good option until Gameweek 29, but the issue is you've got Jota and so many other good options that it makes it difficult at the moment, and one key reason why I went for Gross over Jota is the fact that it now allows me to go for Haaland in for Archer whilst keeping Solanke and Watkins. I can't do that by buying Jota, so maybe what I'm going to do is sell Saka to Jota instead in Gameweek 23 whilst buying back Haaland around that time. Foden to Maddison, says Pranav. No, it makes no sense to do that when Foden faces Burnley at home and also has a double in Gameweek 25. Will Forest AFCON absentees be big versus Arsenal? Yes, but for example, there are some key players coming back from AFCON, and also Awani, who's been injured, is in training. So yes, I think they do make an impact, of course, but Forest have a few boosts coming in training. I think Morgan Gibbs-White is back, Elanga as well. They're all, in contention to start against Arsenal. So I'd expect them to be available, and that will be massive for them. People switch Foden with KDB, that's why, says Torben. Fair enough. Will there be Gabriel leaks? Well, I just showed you a reliable journalist, SR Collins, talking about it. He should start. And I said this even from last week. I'd be very surprised if he didn't start against Nottingham Forest. Neto or Ward-Prowse? I have both of them. Neto. Neto, this is the thing. I think Pedro Neto is probably the more threatening option because of the positions he takes up as a winger. Ward-Prowse can play very deep, but what he has is the set pieces on penalties, on free kicks and corners. But yeah, I think this week I have a good thing about Neto over Ward-Prowse. Jota or Joao Pedro? Jota. Start 3, bench 1, says United is finished. That's a tricky one, but I'd probably bench Estupinian. It might be an unpopular opinion. It's between him and Pedro Porro. I'd probably bench Estupinian. Forest poor at set pieces. Yeah, fair enough, but Saliba has actually improved on set pieces this season. And of course, Gabriel did inflate his goal tally against Crystal Palace. Before that, he's really struggling to get in and amongst the goals for Arsenal this season. But we all know he's got that in his locker. The most goals of any defender, I think any centre-back actually, in Europe's top 5 leagues since he joined Arsenal. But yeah, look, that's not a bad shout. And like I said before, the main reason why I said Saliba over Gabriel is due to the yellow flag. There's still a chance that the knock could lead into something serious. I don't think that'll be the case, but I'm just purely basing it on probabilities. And look, in recent weeks, there's no doubt that Gabriel has been better than Saliba. What are the general plans this week, says EG? Well, at the moment it's to roll, but if I were to make a transfer, Haaland for Archer is likely, and also Jota in for either Gross or Saka. Those are the 2 moves I'm most interested in. If not, it's going to be rolling and delaying those moves until Gameweek 23. Would you captain Alvarez? If I had him, I'd be tempted, but like I said, with the news we got today, I'd be less keen on him, and I'd maybe favour a Foden. But look, FPL is not always that logical. Sometimes you just got to stick with it despite any updates that might change your thinking, and Alvarez playing down the middle and starting against Burnley is still enough to captain him. Lager says, hello Dylan, so great to see you again. Likewise, and thank you very much. Looking fresh, can I bring in Salah already for Son? Not bring in Salah because he's out for Gameweek 22 and 23, as we covered just a few minutes ago. He could be back for Gameweek 24, but it makes no sense to buy him right now. KDB or Foden, says Hedge San. Foden for me. I still like KDB. And if he starts, he's got a very high ceiling. But for me, Foden is just more nailed on. And I think he's a more consistent option at the moment. Sarabia to Bowen is number 1. 2, Archer to Joao Pedro. 3, Cash to Porro. All those moves have their pros and cons. I think Sarabia to Bowen is the biggest upgrade. You could argue Archer to Joao Pedro is, but yeah, Sarabia to Bowen would be my preference. With Cash to Porro, that's a good move, and Cash is pretty useless. But Porro does blank in Game Week 26, and I don't think they're going to have that double in Game Week 25. It's very unlikely. And whilst Porro has a fixture in Game Week 29, you might want to... I mean, look, Cash to Porro is still a good move. I'm not going to lie to you. I'd rather do that than Archer to Joao Pedro, actually. But I think with blank Game Week 26 in mind, if you've already got too many Spurs, Chelsea, and Liverpool assets, I'd rather go for Bowen as the number 1 pick. Alisson is on top in goalkeeper points. Would you consider him? Yeah, look, Alisson will probably get the most points of any goalkeeper, that's for sure. But you also have to think about Salah. Once he returns, you'd probably want him back. Jota right now looks excellent. Not to mention you've got Trent and Robertson at the back, particularly Trent. And Darwin is in great form right now. I wouldn't want to waste a Liverpool spot on Alisson. Maybe waste is a strong word, but I don't think Alisson really is worth the extra millions over Areola, for example. There's not a huge difference in points, and I'd rather spend that money in the outfield positions. And also bear in mind, Liverpool blanking Game Week 26, and that could be an issue for you as well. And look, just for me, I'd rather go for another Liverpool player. Start Palmer or Douglas Luiz. I'd go for Palmer. I've got this question the other day and I said yes, but it's all circumstantial. Some people might be doing better this season and finding it easier, but I do think it is more difficult, yes. Would you do Sufal to Walker if you have 1 free transfer, says Offley? Yeah, I would, particularly if you have a weak defence or you've got some injury doubts there. Gordon or Garnacho, who to bench? Generally, I'd say bench Garnacho, but this week I'd be more favourable towards him. I think I'd start Garnacho, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Rank these players, says Zaid. Well, right now, and this is kind of a short to medium term thing, it'd be Jota first, Bowen second, KDB third, Saka fourth, Gross fifth. That could certainly be interchangeable, but that's a rough kind of top 5 there. I think Jota's the best right now. But from Game Week 26 onwards, that's where Jota would probably go down to the bottom of that list. Adnan ANJ says Estupinian, Gabriel, Trent, Porro. Start 3. I'd basically bench Gabriel from those 4. Watkins or Solanke. I still prefer Watkins, especially this week. Saka or Jota, says Ted Santos. This week, I think Saka is slightly better, but overall, for the next 3 or 4 game weeks, up until Game Week 26, I'd rather have Jota. There's no doubt about it. I'm looking to sell Saka to Jota in Game Week 23. Foden 100% starting. I mean, why would he not start? He's been starting every single game recently. I don't think he's going to be benched. That's just my personal opinion. Son up for Richarlison or Maddison or Jota, says Mosin. I'd rather go for Jota. I'd rank it Jota first, Richarlison second, and Maddison third right now. Hi Dylan, is Game Week 26 your free hit plan? Not necessarily. At the moment, I'm more likely to free hit in Game Week 34 or 29. Even 37 is a distinct possibility, which is going to be probably the biggest double game week of the season, if not the second biggest. But I think with Game Week 26, I could pretty much manage it with free transfers or the occasional hit. QKA says, hey man, should I captain KDB or Haaland? KDB is more likely to start in Game Week 22, in my opinion. So maybe he's the better captaincy option. It's a tricky one, though. Generally speaking, I'd always favour Haaland, but I'm not so sure if he'll start. Isn't Egypt out from AFCON? Yes, but Salah's injured, Lager, which we covered recently. His agent said he should be out for 3 to 4 weeks. He said this around a week ago. And Jurgen Klopp said today that Salah's out for the Arsenal game in Game Week 23 and, of course, Chelsea coming up. Is Haaland playing? He'll be in the squad. Is he going to start? I don't think so, but that's literally just not even an educated guess. It's just a guess. Buy Elise or Kudus? I'd rather go for Kudus. Hi Dylan, is it okay to buy Tony? Yeah, of course it's okay. He's got the most fixtures of any player until Game Week 29. He doubles in 25. He also features in Game Week 29 in that blank. One of only 2 confirmed fixtures up until now. We're expecting another 2 or 3 more fixtures to also fall under that. But yeah, Tony's absolutely fine to buy. The issue is, though, if you've got Solanke, Watkins, and also Erling Haaland, for example, I wouldn't necessarily sell any of them for Tony right now. Zaid, I did cover that question, so just be sure to rewind a little bit. Hi Dylan, who would you start? Saka, Bowen, Gordon, Gross, Palmer, Alvarez, Solanke, Watkins, and captain option. So I'm guessing I need to bench one. I would probably bench Gordon. And for the captaincy out of those players, it's between Alvarez and Watkins for me. Why not captain Trent? I don't think it's worth captaining him. As I said, look, maybe I should rephrase what I just said. Yes, he's not a bad option to captain, but for myself personally, I'm predicting a 3-1 win for Liverpool. I think they'll concede, and I think there are better options elsewhere for the captaincy. Happy birthday to you. Thank you, even though it's not my birthday. Saka to Jota with a -4, says Shady. No, I wouldn't do it for a -4 hit. Not this week. Are we starting Haaland? If you have him, I would do it. Son out for Richarlison or Maddison or Jota, I've covered. Wildcard this week. I think there are better opportunities to do it, but having said that, it's all circumstantial and team dependent. Colwill to Walker, yes, because Lascelles is injured and probably won't start anyway. Colwill is out for this week. Zinchenko against Forest and Estupinian, they're okay. But I wouldn't want to start Taylor. So yeah, Alaga. I do Colwill to Walker. Start Palmer or Tony. Very tricky. I'd probably go for Tony actually, but very close. No worries, Lager. Just updating you there. Is Zinchenko starting? Yes. Timber's still out and Tomiyasu is at the Asian Cup. Hi, Dylan. Haaland 90 minutes? I don't think so. He might start, but I don't think he's going to start 90 minutes or play the 90 minutes, should I say. I don't think so. It'd be very unlikely in my opinion. Jimenez captain, no chance. I talked about skipping him many weeks ago and he hasn't even been that good since, but I just don't really rate him as an FPL asset. He had obviously some big hauls when I think Fulham won 2 games back-to-back 5-0. But I don't trust him, especially for the captaincy. Who to sell out of Saka, Bowen, Richarlison, Jota, Palmer to buy KDB? Well, bear in mind, JP, Richarlison, Jota and Palmer blanking Gameweek 26, but right now, I think Saka, over the next couple, is the one I'd rather sell. If you want to trim down your blank Gameweek 26 players, or should I say your blank Gameweek 26 blankers, then it might be worth dropping one of your Spurs, Liverpool, or Chelsea players there, but I'd probably say Saka. Captain KDB or Foden? I'd personally go for Foden. Gordon to Jota or KDB? Got Foden. Says Adnan. Alejandro, yeah, I should have known it was you behind it. Jesus Christ. I'd rather go to Jota, Adnan. That's my personal preference. It also gives you enough funds to go for Haaland in the forward line. So thank you, Alejandro, for the birthday messages, even though it isn't my birthday. So just for those of you, yeah, don't just say happy birthday, just ignore that. Should I sell Saka for Jota? I'm looking at doing it myself, but I'm probably going to do it in Gameweek 23. I'd probably keep Saka this week. I think he's got a better chance of hauling than Jota in Gameweek 22. Radovan says Haaland and Estupinian in for a -4. I have 3 nice defenders, Gabriel, Porro and Trent. So 1 transfer, 2 or roll. But who are you selling? That's my question. I don't know who you're selling, and that's what ultimately determines whether you should do it or not. But my initial instinct is to not do it. I don't think you need Estupinian. You've already got a decent defensive line, as you say. Good afternoon to you as well, Fax. No, my birthday's in April, actually. Yeah, so still a bit of a way to go, but time flies. Play Trent or Palmer? You know what? I'd actually rather play Trent, but that's a personal preference. I tend to favour attackers, but in this fixture, I still think Trent could get an attack in return there over a Palmer, but with both of them, I don't think their ceiling's particularly high, to be quite honest with you. Destined for Greatness says Dawson or White to start. Leaning towards Dawson. Yes, but it is against United. I know they've been very suspect this season, but I would back United to score. And to be fair, I also back Forest to score, but Arsenal have the better defence. I'd probably go for White personally, but I can understand why you're going for it. Back your gut and good luck with your decision. Jar Sri Ram says, who do I sell Colwill or Lascelles for? Trent is too expensive and I do want to bring back Haaland. Yeah, Walker's absolutely fine. He's probably the best defender to buy right now, actually. Happy birthday, mate. A round of memberships to celebrate. Yeah, it's not my birthday, but we'll use that as an excuse to give memberships. Look what you started, Alejandro. Oh, Jesus. This is what happens when your friends tune into your streams. Dylan, should I switch to Jota from Diaz or hold Diaz and wait till Gameweek 23? I would switch, to be fair. I know I typically would recommend holding off a little bit, but I think Jota is a massive upgrade on Diaz at the moment. Start Garnacho or Palmer? I'd still go for Palmer. Who do I sell Colwill or Lascelles for? I covered. Start Palmer or Gordon? I'd start Palmer. And would you get rid of Bowen for Jota or KDB? No. As good as Jota and KDB are, especially this week for KDB, I still like Bowen. Should I sell Saka for Jota? We've covered. What is everyone doing this week? Be sure to let him know. Simicast replacements. I don't know what value or what kind of price range or bracket you're looking for, but I think Walker's a good option as Stupinian. They're my two favourite defenders to buy at the moment. Salah to KDB or Foden? Foden. Or Lascelles to Walker or Stupinian? Yeah, I'd go Lascelles to Walker, JP. I think that looks pretty good. Is Zinchenko starting? Yes, like I said earlier. Should I do Alvarez for Haaland? Probably not this week. I'd hold on to Alvarez for now. Play Gabriel or Gay? I'd play Gay. Better fixture. Odegaard or Saka? Saka. Triple captain for Haaland? I think double Gameweek 25 is the best time to use the triple captaincy. He's got 2 home fixtures there against Chelsea and Brentford. Missed hanging out on stream review, says Kyron. Is Stupinian and Walker double Gameweek for Saliba this week or next week? I already have Gabriel. That's fair enough. I'd go to Walker. Whilst the Stupinian might be better longer term, I think for the next 3-4 game weeks, Walker is the best purchase in the defence. Power to Stupinian or roll and do next week with Haaland in, says Chichen Jr. I'd probably do Pau to Stupinian because Pau Torres is ruled out this week, but it all depends on your defence. Who do you have starting if Stupinian doesn't come in for you, Junior? Let me know. But if you are down to maybe a Taylor or, you know, an option you're not really too happy with, I'd buy Stupinian now and then buy Haaland back in Gameweek 23. Poke Me says Salah to KDB and then Haaland in for Solanke or Watkins for a -4. Yeah, if you can do both, that's obviously ideal, and I do like those moves, to be fair. I'd rather sell Solanke, but things could certainly change very soon. Watkins, Jota, Palmer, Gordon, free start. I bench Gordon. What do you think to bench Tony or Alvarez? I'd rather bench Tony this week. Haaland or Watkins? Watkins. Using a minus to buy Stupinian, says Mohammed. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of taking a hit for a defender, especially Stupinian this week. I think Luton Town will score. What happened with Colwill? I don't know the exact injury, but he's got a problem. He's out for this week. Should I buy Haaland for Alvarez? I want to captain him. Well, if you want to, you know, captain Haaland and you back him to do very well, then fair enough. But I personally think Alvarez will start and Haaland will come off the bench. But of course, we might get an update before the deadline and my opinion will change. Pranav says Trippier to Trent. Been loyal to Trippier since Gameweek 1. Yeah, I'd do it. And also Liverpool could have a double in Gameweek 25. But bear in mind, of course, they will certainly blank in Gameweek 26. Courage the Phoenix, or Courage JD Phoenix says, would you do Solanke or Watkins to Tony? Not this week. I would potentially be open to it around Gameweek 24 or 25, but I want to do it now. What do you think about Vicario? I mean, he's okay. Spurs aren't good defensively, and if you've got the Spaniard wing-back, we'll call him Porro, as people say in English, then yeah, I'd go for him instead. I don't think Vicario is necessary, and with Areola being cheaper and offering great value, I don't really see a need to go for more expensive goalkeepers right now. If you were to, then Alisson or Raya look like the best options. Are you getting Haaland this game week? As things stand, no, but that could change. Good to sell Salah or hold for a few more game weeks. He's going to miss game week 22 and 23, so if you're, you know, happy to bench a player that expensive and you've got a very good midfield and squad overall, then fair enough, you can hold on to him, but my preference would be to sell and buy back around game week 24 or 25. I've got Tony, Haaland and Joao Pedro up front, whereas Zinchenko, Moreno and Stupinian. Should I replace Zinchenko with Van de Ven? No. I don't think so, because Spurs blank in Gameweek 26, Arsenal don't. Arsenal also arguably have better fixtures in the long term. The only upside you have to that is that Van de Ven features in Gameweek 29 for sure, whilst Arsenal could blank there depending on the Chelsea versus Aston Villa FA Cup result in the FA Cup 4th round replay. So no, I don't think that's necessary, to be fair. And I also don't think Spurs keep a clean sheet against Brentford. Douglas Luiz or Anthony Gordon? This week I'd go for Douglas Luiz. On the par says bench 2. Tricky one, but with Ake, for example, he might even be benched despite his heroics in the FA Cup. I'd probably bench... Wow, that's tricky. Probably Neto and Gabriel. That's my take on it. While the plans this week is covered in the team selection videos, and I've covered it a few times in the stream. So the current plan is to roll. If I were to make a transfer, and it all depends on the news we get, if we get any, Haaland in for Archer is a possibility. Then I could maybe bench a Palmer, which is an ideal. The alternative is to buy Jota for either Saka or Pascal Gross. Start Gabriel or Gay. I'd go for Gay. Some questions have been asked before, by the way, so I'm going to try cover different questions to keep things fresh. Hopefully you understand, but otherwise it gets a bit repetitive. Swagat says, should I sell Salah for KDB, Jota or Foden? And which one is better? I have money for Haaland. Yes, I would sell Salah, and my personal preference would be Foden out of the three, based on the fixtures and also the minutes at the moment. So yeah, Foden, Jota, and KDB in that order. Cash will start in the first 11. Even if that's the case, it's not really worth it. I don't think Villa keep a clean sheet against Newcastle, and Matty Cash has been an awful FPL option since game week 4, really. He's been absolutely woeful in the last 10, that's for sure. Well, even if Lascelles is back soon, it doesn't matter because he's not playing games now with Cher and Botman back. He's just sitting there because I've got other, priorities. I am looking at doing Lascelles to Walker eventually, and what that could mean is Haaland in for Archer, Saka to Jota, and then Walker coming in for Lascelles. That is the most likely set of free transfers coming up for me. If Haaland starts, who would you buy him for? Cameron Archer. Then the issue is who do I bench, and it's probably going to be Palmer or Gross, and I'm not a big fan of that. Is Foden nailed on? Well, of course, any Man City player could be rotated. I'm not going to deny that. But Foden has been very nailed on this season compared to recent campaigns. And I also think Foden can coexist with De Bruyne. And if anything, Alvarez will be the one to drop out once Haaland and De Bruyne can start games consistently. Weiseng says, I think I would hold my transfer and make it next game week. Son is coming back if he's eliminated against Saudi Arabia ongoing. Yeah, let's wait and see, of course. Information is very important, and I'd rather have information than maybe go for a 1 week punt, and that's why my current plan is to roll, but you never know. Want to sell Salah to Jota or Richarlison? Jota is my preference. Ryan says, what do you think of Steele as a goalkeeper for the upcoming 2 game weeks? Look, I don't mind that, but in terms of goalkeeper punts, they're not really going to get you too much compared to even defenders, and let alone midfielders and forwards. So if you want to go for kind of 2 game week punts, I'd rather go for midfielders and forwards, to be quite honest with you. However, Steele, if he can nail down a spot, is a great option until game week 29, really, where Brighton will most likely blank because of the FA Cup. But yeah, with Jason Steele, he started 3 games in a row in the league, but throughout the season, there's been so much rotation there with the goalkeepers from Roberto De Zerbi. Bench 1 says WB. I'd bench Saliba. The Samuel Beer says bench 1. There's a lot of benching questions in this chat. Out of those 3, I'd be tempted to bench Cunha. I know he scored in the last game in the FA Cup, but yeah, I'd probably bench Cunha. I currently have Solanke on the bench as I feel Wolves could get a result. So do I. I think Wolves will win, probably 2-1, but yeah, I still would rather go for the others to start, especially Solanke. Richarlison captain, not a bad shout. It's not my favourite, to be quite honest with you, but I think he's a decent shout this week. Gordon in for Gross. No, I wouldn't do it this week. Maybe in Game Week 23, though. Thank you, the Samuel Beer. My name's not Ryan, but I appreciate it. Love the streamers pair. In Cuckoo to play. It's a possibility, but with Chelsea, I'd kind of avoid all of their assets right now. If you've got Palmer, that's great. I'd keep him, but I wouldn't buy anyone else. They blank in Game Week 26, and there are better options from other teams. London W4 says, afternoon, Dylan. De Bruyne and Haaland in for Foden and Alvarez leaves me with 0 million in the bank. Worried about being priced out. No. I wouldn't do that. No chance for me. I mean, it's up to you. Maybe long-term that is the play, but for this week, I think the timing's a bit off. I have Son. Should I bring in Richarlison or Foden or Jota? I think, as I said to you earlier, I'd go for Foden, but all of them would be good options. Dylan, should I switch to Jota from Diaz? Like I said, I would. Some of these questions we have answered. United's finished their start 4, bench 1. I would probably bench Martinelli, but that's a difficult one to do. Michael Kotze says, hi Dylan, probably have answered this question already. Would you do Salah to Foden or KDB? I'd go to Foden. Thinking long term as well, as I think Foden might not play both in the double. But do you think De Bruyne will play both in the double? He hasn't even started a game yet since returning from injury. What's to say he's going to now suddenly start 2 Premier League games in a row in the span of a few days? I'm not so sure about that. So I can understand your concerns about Foden, but I think De Bruyne is a bigger minutes risk than Foden. 404th Trooper says, Bailey to KDB and Watkins to Joao Pedro for a -4. I mean, good moves on paper, but I wouldn't sell Watkins for a -4 when he faces Newcastle next. He's got 3 goals in 2 home games against them. Or yeah, Foden and Jota don't have a Stupinian. I'd probably keep things as they are. I know the temptation for KDB is big, but I don't think it's worth selling Watkins for a -4 right now. Dreaming FPL says, what do you think I should do? Play risky and captain Darwin, or play safe and go for Foden? Look, I'm not against, captaining, kind of, let's say, road picks, and Darwin is in great form. You could argue he's in better form, goal-scoring-wise, than Foden in the last couple. He scored in the FA Cup. He's also scored in the last few Premier League games. So I'm not completely against that, but I'm looking at the fixture, and I just think City have a high ceiling. I'm probably going for a 4 or 5-0 win for City. I think Liverpool win by 1 or 2 against Chelsea. I'm probably going to go for 3-1 Liverpool. So I think both can do really well, but I would still favour Foden personally. That's not to say you can't go risky and go for Darwin. That's not a bad option. Who to captain, says Football Pundit. City players are probably the best option, especially midfielders and forwards, so I wouldn't go for a defender. So you're looking at Foden, Alvarez, De Bruyne potentially. Then you're looking at the likes of Watkins, Richarlison, Jota, Saka, Bowen. I think that's the way I'd kind of rank it. Not in particular order, by the way. But yeah, I'm currently going for Foden. That's my answer. That doesn't mean it's right, though. Trini Guna says, bench Solanke or Bowen. I'd bench Solanke. Salah to Jota or Richarlison? I would do Jota. I'd do Salah to Jota. Should I start Lamptey? His red flag is off. The thing is, like I said earlier, I don't think Brighton will keep a clean sheet against Luton Town. You can start him if you want, but that doesn't mean he's going to start just because the red flag is out. I would play Cunha. United could not defend against Newport. That's fair enough. I think it's just a matter of the quality of players. And to be fair, Cunha's been very consistent in the last month, but I just rather would go for Palmer or Solanke. If you were to go for Cunha, then the one to bench would be Palmer in my case. No worries, MT1878. Bench 1. I would bench... Tricky one, but I'd actually potentially bench Estupinian. I think that's the way I'd go. No worries, that's Samuel Beer. Areola or Raya? This week I'd go for Areola, but I don't think either keep a clean sheet. Richarlison or Palmer, says British Ramu. This week, Richarlison. Overall, I still think Palmer's the better FPL option, but this week, I'd rather go for Richarlison. FPL reminds me of math class. Yeah, of course, some people are naturally good at maths, so they might enjoy it or something like that, but maths isn't for everyone. The same goes for FPL. Who to start between Palmer or Gordon? I'd personally go for Palmer. I don't think either of them have a particularly high ceiling this week, but I think Palmer being on penalties does separate the two. The Fantasy Football Lad says, Buenas, Dylan. Current team is Areola, Dubravka, Pedro Porro. 1 free transfer, 6.2 million in the bank. Thanks for the feedback. So your goalkeeper's fine. Your defense is also good for the week. You could consider downgrading or actually changing Saliba or Gabriel to Walker in the weeks to come. Same with Taylor, to be fair. You've got Taylor there. Your midfield is absolutely fine, although you could argue Jota. Salah to Jota could be your move. Yeah, I think what I'd do for you, the Fantasy Football Lad, is Salah out to either Jota or De Bruyne. I think that's what I'd do in your situation. Just bear in mind, of course, if you go for De Bruyne, it will make it difficult to go for Haaland, especially in for Archer. So as a result, you might want to go for Jota instead. No worries, Punjabi. Hopefully you got it. Walker and Jota for Colwell and Saka, says Emil. Yes, I like the moves overall, but I wouldn't do Saka to Jota if it means a -4 hit. I'm looking at making that move in Gameweek 23 for free, but not now, and especially not for a hit. Junior says, Estupinian or Walker in for Pal? Walker. And I think it's mainly because of the double. If it wasn't for that, I'd say Estupinian. KDB or Foden captain? I'm personally recommending Foden, but KDB is absolutely fine. Do you think Haaland back means Foden is less appealing as an FPL asset? When Haaland's in the team, the game is more centered around him. Some of Foden's biggest returns this season have come in the Champions League, where he started alongside Erling Haaland, so I don't think that's necessarily true. Maybe you're right about the Premier League, and that could be a trend to really monitor, but I still think Foden can coexist, start the games, and also do very well alongside Erling Haaland. And also, Haaland's back, but that doesn't mean he's going to start in Game Week 22, so I still think Foden is good for this week, at the very least. Going forwards, it might be an issue, but I think right now, Foden's absolutely fine. Having Sterling, who should I sell him? Yes, I would. If so, for who? Take your pick. Diogo Jota, Phil Foden. Foden would be my preference with double Game Week 25 in mind, but you've also got Richarlison, Saka, Bowen, Kevin De Bruyne. You've got a lot of options to go to. Even Pascal Gross is a good choice, but I would probably limit it to Foden or Jota. Yeah, Emil, I mentioned Watkins a few times. He's got 3 goals in 2 home games against Newcastle. I'm actually tempted to change the captaincy to him, but the last time I did that, I lost out on 8 points. But then again, maybe I'm just fear-mongering myself. Yeah, Haaland is fit to play, but that doesn't mean he's going to start. That's the key distinction. Is Trent starting? I'm very convinced he will. He was in the squad against Norwich in the FA Cup, and I think he will start against Chelsea. Robertson or Porro on the wild card? I'd still go for Porro, and I'd rather cover Liverpool defensively with Trent, if possible, of course. Parik says start free. Haaland, Estupinian, Palmer, Trent, Burn, Garnacho. Tricky one with Haaland. Very tricky. I'd start Trent. I'd probably go for Estupinian and Haaland just in case and have, let's say, Palmer first on your bench. Is it wrong to bench my best 4 players so that my bench boost looks good? Yeah, look, there's always that debate about the bench boost. Yeah, look, I think the way it goes typically is you bench your 4 worst players, the ones you typically bench, and then see how they do. That's pretty much the best way to measure how good your bench boost was. That's the way I look at it. But yeah, ultimately, if your squad is looking stacked this weekend, the bench boost will give you an extra 10, 15 points, at least 15, I'd say, then that's fine. Leno or Dubravka? Leno. This week, anyway. Long term, I prefer Dubravka. Start Haaland or Trippier? Haaland. Tony captain? I wouldn't captain him, but I think he's a decent option against Tottenham. Dutta says, assuming Gabriel benched Estupinian in for cash or roll, 3-5-2. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, either scenario, but I'd probably roll. Gabriel should play, as I mentioned earlier. Buy Haaland or Jota. Already have Alvarez. This week I'd rather buy Jota, but then again, if we get any news or leaks that Haaland starts, that is going to be a different story, and Haaland becomes the best captaincy option in the game. If you're backing Haaland to start, then I think Haaland's the one to buy. My preference right now is Jota, and I'd buy Haaland next week. Bench 1, Mikalenko, Sinchenko, Trent, Gross. It's between the Ukrainians. I'd probably bench Sinchenko. Captain between Haaland or Saka. I mean, if I knew Haaland starts, he's the easy captain choice, but I don't think he starts personally, so I'd probably lean towards Saka. But I could be completely wrong. Even off the bench, Haaland could score a goal or 2. That's how good he is and how poor Burnley are. Haaland has 5 goals in 2 appearances against Burnley. He got a brace in Gameweek 1 and also scored a hat-trick in the FA Cup last season. Jota or Foden? Jota is the more informed player, and maybe he's the one to buy right now, but with fixtures in mind and double Gameweek 25, I'm going to stick to my original answer from a few weeks ago and say Foden. Top 5 captains in order. It'll probably be all over the place, but I'd say Foden first, Alvarez second, De Bruyne third, Watkins fourth, and in 5th place, I'd maybe go for maybe Bowen. Captain KDB or Foden? Foden for me. Hi Dylan, do you think Kudus will be fine for the next game? Yes, he's back from AFCON. He should be available. Yeah, I think he'll be in the starting 11. Nope, no league lineup so far. If there is, I'll let you know, and I encourage people to leave it in the live chat too, just in case I miss it. Thank you, Aaron, for the super chat as always. It's very generous of you. This week, Darwin and Gordon, or JP and Richarlison or Bowen. This week, I would rather go for João Pedro and either Richarlison or Bowen. Yeah, Richarlison's another good captaincy shout, by the way, but I would favour Bowen slightly more. But yeah, as a duo, Aaron, I'd go for the latter one. JP and either Richarlison or Bowen. Who do I prefer? I'm going to stick with Bowen. Doesn't blank in Gameweek 26. More consistent than Richarlison in general. But Richarlison is absolutely fine for this week. Jota in, Gordon out for -4. The thing is, you'd probably want Gordon from Gameweek 23 onwards. That's where it becomes difficult. Having said that, I think Jota is better until Gameweek 26, so it should still be worth the -4 hit. Would I take a hit? You know what? I'd probably say yes, but it's not a necessary one. It's just really if you back Jota to do well, you might want to captain him now or in Gameweek 24, 25. And remember, Liverpool could double in Gameweek 25, but that isn't a certainty. Start Haaland or Gordon Palmer. I'd start Haaland, but it's close between him and Palmer. Gordon would be on my bench for sure. And it's between Palmer and Haaland, and I'd probably go for Haaland there just in case. CR7 says start Haaland, Palmer, or Gabriel. I'd start Haaland and then have Palmer first on the bench, Gabriel second. Madrid says Palmer, Gordon, Saka, Jota, KDB is this good midfield for Gameweek 22 and 23. Yes, it is a good midfield. You're pretty well set, actually. You've got most of the key options. Radovan says Haaland and Estupinian in for a -4. I covered this question already, mate. And like I said, I don't know your scenario in terms of who are you selling to get Haaland and Estupinian in. I have no idea. And that's what determines the question. On instincts, just my gut feeling, without knowing the context, I'd say I just keep things as they are. Gabriel should be fine and he should start, so you don't need Estupinian. Bench Tony or Gross, says FPL Eric. I think I'd rather bench Gross. Start Konsa or Gabriel, says Bilal. I would start Gabriel. SJ says I'm going to trust Saka for captaincy. Yeah, look, it wouldn't surprise me if he did well now. You know, everyone captained him, or a lot of people did in Gameweek 21. He he failed, even though he should have got the assist. And now you've got this happening where he does really well against Forest. But anything else that you could change my mind? Well, let's actually read out some stats about some of the most popular captaincy options and their records against the upcoming opponents. So Jota has 1 goal and 1 assist against Chelsea in 11 games. And guess what? None of them came against Chelsea during his time at Liverpool. So his goal and assist came during his time at Wolves. With Richarlison, he's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 3 Premier League games against Brentford. He also scored in his only FA Cup appearance against the Bees. No goal contributions though, whilst he was at Spurs. So very similar to Diogo Jota, but the record in general is better. Erling Haaland has 5 goals in 2 games against Burnley, including a brace back in Gameweek 1, and he scored a hat-trick in the FA Cup last season at the Etihad. Foden has 2 goals and 1 assist in 7 games versus Burnley, not a particularly great record, and both of his goals came in 1 game where he scored a brace in a 5-0 home win back in the 2019 and 2020 season. Then we've got De Bruyne, 2 goals and 3 assists in 11 Premier League games versus Burnley, 3 goals and 6 assists in 15 matches across all competitions. He got injured back in Gameweek 1 at Turf Moor against Burnley. Saka has 1 goal and 1 assist in 3 Premier League games against Forest, and he also scored in the last meeting back in Gameweek 1 and got a double-digit haul. And he also played them twice in cup competitions, the Carabao and the FA Cup, but produced no goal contributions. And the other 2 options I'm going to discuss are Bowen and Watkins. And Bowen, once again, 1 goal, 1 assist in 3 Premier League games against Bournemouth, and he scored back in Gameweek 1 away from home. As for Watkins, he's got 3 goals and 2 assists in 6 Premier League games against Newcastle. He has never blanked at home versus the Toons. 3 goals in 2 appearances at Villa Park. And he got an assist back in Gameweek 1, despite Aston Villa being thrashed 5-1 at St James's Park. So I have to say, based on the stats I just read out, I think Watkins looks very tempting as a captaincy option. So let me know what you think. I might put a poll out very soon to see your thoughts as well. And I am considering, and like I said at the beginning of the stream, the plan is to give 5 more memberships to viewers. It will be absolutely random. I have no say in terms of who gets them. It's absolutely allocated randomly by YouTube. But we're going to do that very soon. So be sure to drop a like. As soon as we reach 100, I'll be gifting 5 more. But we're not going to stop there. We also want to get to 150 likes and then push on towards 200 and get closer towards 23k subscribers and beyond. But before we do that, and of course, once again, a massive shout out to the patrons, channel and those that send in super chats is massively appreciated. Let's go back to Drafthound and talk about the update algorithm that we've gotten. So let me just refresh the page and see what's going on. But they are recommending to me Bowen to De Bruyne, and they also were recommending Jota in for Bowen as the top suggestion. There is a new tool here called the Player Scouting. It was literally released today, and I've been looking at it just a little bit. I didn't have much time to go through it today, but they have so many different metrics here, including the key man substitute. They pretty much tell you how likely these players are to start, and they give you a good indication in terms of the projected points over the next 5 game weeks, and also everything you need to know, the ownership, also the price. You can sort this out and put multiple features here. So let's actually go for it by ownership, and we can also go for it by expected points over the next 5. So as you can see, Saka, of course, is the most owned player in FPL, and there are so many different metrics here which will help you with your decisions. And as you can see, Man City players are heavily favoured. Alvarez, Bernardo Silva, Foden, De Bruyne, Walker, all in the top 5. You've also got Tony and Doku right up there. Erling Haaland will also rise up the ranks, especially once he's fully back in Gameweek 23. And he can even start in Gameweek 22. Let me know what you think in the live chat. But be sure to check out Drafthound. For me, their best tool is the player rankings. They've got Palmer top with De Bruyne, Jota, Alvarez, Foden, and Martinelli all the way up there over the next 3 game weeks. You've also got the fixture analysis tool. You can sort it out by attacking data and chances, same with the clean sheet probability and chance of winning. And Liverpool are still top in the top 2, despite blanking in Gameweek 26 for both attack and defense. You can also compare any player you wish. So let's actually use one in particular example, Jota versus Foden, a very popular question today. And this week, Jota is favoured by the Drafthound algorithm over the next 3 as well. But for the next 5 game weeks, Foden leads that. And that's the reason why I would recommend Foden over Diogo Jota, especially if Liverpool don't double in Game Week 25. And you can also get access to all predicted lineups. And if you sign up as a Pro Pay-Team member, you'll see the expected minutes for every single one of these players. So be sure to check out Drafthound. The link is in the description below, and I'll probably put one in the live chat very soon as well. And now they've just updated this algorithm, and Saka is projected to be a slightly better vice captaincy option than Palmer. They've got 5.7 expected points, but Saka's slightly favoured. Probably just literally fine margins we're talking about here, and that's what the captaincy sometimes comes down to. So let's now go back to my FPL team, and we do have still over an hour left until the deadline. We've covered many questions already. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe for all that good stuff. And I'm pretty sure we've hit 100 likes already. We have. Thank you very much for that. Let's now get this to over 150. And let's now gift 5 memberships to random viewers. So thank you very much for all your support. I appreciate it. And yeah, just enjoy the memberships. We'll read that out very soon. And also all the new members, or just general members and patrons. So the ones that got it are El Padrino, who is a long-time viewer of this channel, absolutely deserved. Goldhead as well, a moderator of this channel and a long-time viewer. Natalie S, Ben X Edits, Ala Madrid as well. Those are the 5 members who got gifted the memberships. I appreciate that, and hopefully you do enjoy it. It's a new feature by YouTube, a very good one, and you will now have early access to my videos for an entire month, as well as all the other perks. Be sure to check out the link in the description below. There is a description of all the perks and tiers that you get access to as a channel member or patron. So hopefully you enjoy it and can make the most of that membership. Thank you, El Padrino. Big you up as well, and enjoy the membership there. And let's also just get back to your questions, of course. Do you think Watkins will do well against Newcastle? Yes, I think he'll probably score, but it's always a question of the ceiling. You know, what do you expect? Do you expect maybe a brace or a hat-trick? And maybe a hat-trick is going a bit too far, but a brace is certainly not out of the question, or even a goal and assist, and that'd be a massive return. The only downside, of course, with forwards is that they don't get the extra point for scoring a goal like a midfielder does, and they also don't get the clean sheet points. And midfielders generally are better FPL options with a higher ceiling. Look at Salah this season, for example, and throughout his Premier League career. So Hill says, I'm captaining Watkins over Foden. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I am actually considering it myself. But maybe the thing that's putting me off is the fact that I did that back in Game Week 20, I think. I had Salah as my captain originally. I changed it to Watkins last second. It was looking good, and then Salah gets a penalty from a Jota dive towards the end, which massively, inflates the score and makes it the wrong decision in the end. Should we keep or sell Salah to Jota KDB? Yes, I'd sell Salah because he's out for the next 2 game weeks at least. He might be back for Game Week 24 against Burnley, but you can always buy him back by that stage. And if I get Jota, I can get Walker too. I think that just makes sense then. Thoughts on Trent captaincy? In terms of defenders this week, Trent would be up there despite facing Chelsea, but my prediction is for Chelsea to score 1 goal, and as a result, you're relying on attacking returns there for Trent, which he's certainly capable of. But yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I'd rather go for a midfielder or forward this week for sure, and I generally do. That's just the way I think about it. Basil says, Captain Saka, KDB or Trent? I'm not going to lie, out of those 3, I'd rather captain KDB, but the minutes are a concern. Matt's Collectibles puts his team thinking Nkunku for Haaland, but would love Jota. Yeah, Nkunku could be back very soon, even in Game Week 22. But yeah, Nkunku for Haaland is the best move long term. Then again, though, would you have the funds to get in Jota afterwards? It might be difficult. Ideally, you'd sell Bailey to Jota, but you wouldn't also be able to afford Haaland for Nkunku, I believe. If you can do both, then absolutely fine. But my preference at the moment would be Bailey to Jota this week and then buy Haaland next week for Nkunku. No worries, Ben X Edits. You can thank YouTube as well. They were the ones that randomly allocated it. What to do with Sterling this week? I'd personally sell him. I just don't think he's really worth it in the grand scheme of things. Should we keep or sell Salah? I covered. Start Solanke or Palmer. I'd start Solanke. Do you think Gordon is a better asset than Gabriel for this game week? Tricky one. If Gordon was at home, then I would definitely start him, even against Villa. But away from home, tricky. But Yeah, the thing is, I just don't think Arsenal keep a clean sheet. So I'd personally go for Gordon, but I can understand your logic. If you think Gordon will blank, go for Gabriel if you're a bit more optimistic about him. No worries, Madrid. Enjoy the membership, mate. I'm glad to hear it. Who would you bring in this week? Estupinian or Trent? We'll be getting Trent in Gameweek 24, if not today. Good question. I'd rather go for Estupinian, slightly better fixtures, and also with Trent. If you buy him in Gameweek 24, you avoid the Chelsea-Arsenal games, which are tough on paper. You get him for Burnley at home and a potential double in Gameweek 25. Of course, they will blank in Gameweek 26, but yeah, I think the way to go about it is Estupinian this week and then buy Trent in a few weeks' time. But having said that, in Gameweek 22, despite the fixture difficulty, I would favour Trent over Estupinian. So it's not an easy question, I'm not going to lie. It's just that Arsenal fixture where Trent could maybe underperform or not do particularly great, whilst Estupinian looks very good. You know what? I think I'd just buy Trent this week. I still think you can do well against Chelsea and Arsenal, and you can always buy Estupinian in Game Week 23 or 24 anyway. Jota or a Palace mid, says Junior Fantasy. Jota all day long. There's no debate for it, in my opinion. If so, which Palace mid? If you were to go for a Palace mid, it'd be Eze or Elise. But Jota for me is the best option of the lot, even over KDB. What do you think about playing Trent and benching Palmer? I was considering that myself if I buy in Haaland for Archer. So yeah, I don't think that's a particularly bad idea. Who should I sell Kabore to? I have Trent. Walker or Estupinian in that order, Raf. Drafthound is recommending Gabriel. Yeah, that's just a glitch, I think. That's why I kind of hid that. It's just a glitch, I think, that appeared now whilst I was streaming. So they'll probably fix that very soon. Pretty much just ignore Gabriel and everything else is in order. My team for Game 22 says Sahil. Watkins captain, yeah, I like that. Solanke, bench, Raya, Sinchenko, Archer, Cash, did Sarabia to Bowen. Yeah, we discussed this earlier. I like that. Good team. I think the weak link for this week is probably Mikalenko. Hopefully Gross can do something. I wish you the best of luck there. It's a good team. Sell to Jota or KDB? Jota, like I said. Bojan Zupac says Salah to Foden and next week Alvarez to Haaland. Looks good. I'd do that. Best free defender picks out of these. Are we talking about this week? I'm guessing you are. If so, I'd say Walker, Trent, and Porro. Yeah. Start Trippier or buy Estupinian? I'd buy Estupinian. And it also gives you extra funds to make other moves. Should I play Walker, says Omega Omar? Yeah, definitely. He's probably the best defender in isolation this week. The best chance of a clean sheet. He's the most nailed on Man City defender as things stand. So, yeah, Walker should start. Start Archer over an Arsenal defender? No. I can see why you're doing that. And maybe you could over Saliba or Gabriel, depending on your preference. But I'd probably just start both Arsenal defenders. Captain Joao Pedro says facts. Good luck. Surrender says have KDB. Should I bring Foden or Jota? I still prefer Foden just because he doesn't blank in Game Week 26. Has a confirmed fixture in Game Week 25. Now, if Jota got a confirmed double Game Week 25 double, and it happened now, then I would lean towards Jota. But without that confirmation, I'd stick to Foden. Should I just play Konsa or replace Son with Foden or Jota? Playing Konsa isn't too bad, but I'd rather replace Son with either Foden or Jota. Now, maybe Son will be eliminated from the Asian Cup. And if that's the case, he'll be back very soon. But he also blanks in Game Week 26. Mauro Rodriguez says, had a feeling about Martinelli this week after telling here I'd captain Palmer. Think I've got lucky. Looking for your suggestions this week. Trent, KDB, Palmer, Watkins, Richarlison, Alvarez, Solanke. Yeah, and the thing is with Martinelli, he got his biggest return of the season when he had a limited cameo off the bench. So that's the way it goes. So yeah. Your suggestions this week, Trent, KDB, Palmer, Watkins, Richarlison, Alvarez, Solanke. Is this someone to bench? I'm guessing it is. If so, if I had to pick one player to bench from those lot, it's probably Palmer. Van Dijk or Saliba? As an FPL option, I'd still go for Saliba. No blanking Game Week 26, and I'd rather cover Liverpool defensively with Trent Alexander-Arnold. As an overall player, it's a different story. RIP no game membership, yeah. But you did get it last month at least. You were, I think, one of the first people to get it. Have a look at Sterling's returns, says Fax. Yeah, they have been decent, actually. At the beginning, he was very explosive but not consistent, and now he's shown a bit more consistency, but I'm just not a big fan of Sterling. I think there are better alternatives elsewhere. And also with that blanking Game Week 26, a very unlikely chance of doubling in Game Week 25, and with Palmer already being a much better option, I just don't think there's a need for Sterling. Also, start 4. So basically bench 1, right? I'd bench Saliba, personally. Hi, Dylan. Thoughts on Joao Pedro captaincy? Hat-trick in the FA Cup. He's been very impressive since Boxing Day, I think, when he got a few goals against Spurs. Yeah, he's been a good option from time to time, and he's now playing more minutes, starting consecutively. It's very impressive stuff, but yeah, captaincy, I'm not completely against it, to be fair. He might even enter a top 10 captaincy list, and if you're feeling it, go for it. That's my key advice. Would I go for him as the captain if I had him? No, but my captaincy has been poor this season, so maybe do the opposite of what I say. Patrick says Solanke to Joao Pedro. Yes, he is on fire right now, and Solanke's blanked a few times, but I'd still keep hold of Solanke. I'm a bit bullish, but the fixtures are really good coming up. Bojan says, could you rank them from best to worst for this week? It would be Watkins first, Trent second, Nunez third, Isak fourth. Transferring KDB or Foden? Foden for me. Raja says, have Borro, Gabriel, Trent and Estupiñán, which 3? I'd bench Gabriel. Foden or Alvarez captain, leaning towards Alvarez due to set pieces. Yeah, he is on free kicks, but that could change with De Bruyne. De Bruyne could take them off him if he starts. I think with Alvarez, though, with Haaland back and potentially coming off the bench, that already reduces Alvarez's potential minutes, in my opinion. So there's also a few ways this could play out. It could be Alvarez dropping deeper when Haaland comes on, and then it's Foden coming off. But I'd rather go for Foden. Would you start a Palace defender over Van Dijk? Tricky. Might sound a bit contradictory, but I would prefer Palmer over Van Dijk. I think it's different with Trent because of his attacking potential with both assists and goals. Of course, it's mainly assists and set pieces. But yeah, in terms of a Palace defender over Van Dijk, better chance of a clean sheet, to be fair. Van Dijk is obviously a major threat from set pieces, but yeah, I'd probably go for a Palace defender, which sounds pretty mad. Start Saliba or Doughty? Saliba. And also captain Haaland or Foden? Foden. I personally think Haaland will be benched. He might come off the bench and do very well, but yeah, when you project someone to not start the game, you'd always favour the one who's actually very likely to start, and I think Foden is one of those players. Mogan Stanley Ibrahim says, transferring KDB or Jota? I've got that question a lot today. I'm going to go for Jota still. Thank you, Faisal. Honestly, thanks for reading and answering all questions. Subbed. I appreciate that. Surendra says, should I bring Anderson for Walker for -4? Tricky one because, yes, the hit is worth it with Walker doubling in 25. Good fixtures throughout. City will probably keep a clean sheet this week. And to be fair, Palace have a good fixture as well. The timing is a bit, I want to say weird or, bad, but it's a bit awkward. I wouldn't do it for a -4 hit. That would be my final answer. Rune says, hey Dylan, start Jimenez or Tavernier? Jimenez, but I'm not a big fan of either this week. I bought Salah for 12.5. Should I sell? As I said to someone else earlier, if you're prepared to bench a £13 million player who's going to miss out in Game Week 22 and 23, if you're able to, cope with that, you've got a really good starting 11 for Game Week 22 and 23, fine. But there's no guarantees back for Game Week 24 either. I think he will be, but there is no guarantee. I'd personally sell him, but I can understand why you're apprehensive. Captain Neto, I wouldn't go that far, but he's a good option against Man United, in my opinion. Roman TV says, bro, please choose for the bench Watkins, Gross, Alvarez. Probably Gross. Madrid says, Ariola, Saliba, Walker, Estupiñán, Palmer, Jota, KDB, Saka, Haaland, captain, Tony, Werner, bench, Dubravka, Doughty, Botman, Gordon. Please suggest if I can start Doughty over Saliba. I mean, you can. The thing is with Luton Town Brighton, it could be a high-scoring game, and Doughty gets an assist. He's been creating a lot of chances since November, but I would rather go for Saliba and back the clean sheet chances, which, to be fair, I don't think Arsenal will keep a clean sheet, but they are more likely than Luton Town, that's for sure. So yeah, we're almost caught up to the messages, but there's still a long way to go. Faisal says, is it worth risking captaincy on KDB? Yeah, it is worth a risk, and I think this week with the captaincy being so open, I think bold picks could be rewarded. Steve Johnson says, hi Dylan, bench one from Jota, Palmer, Saka, Gross, Foden. It's between Palmer and Gross for me, and I'd probably bench Palmer, which is an unpopular opinion. Edouard back for Palace, potentially, but with Palace, the only players I'd consider, I mean, yeah, Richards and Gay are fine for a cheap defender, but then you're looking at Eze or Elise, and really with Palace, they're just so inconsistent. I'd rather avoid them, particularly their attackers. Ario says Tavernier, Solanke, Palmer, Gordon, one to bench. Gordon. Actually, you know what? It's between Gordon and Tavernier. I'd probably bench Tavernier. Start 2, bench 1. I would bench... Oh, Lord. I'd probably Tony, but that is not ideal at all. Foden and Richarlison if I have Walker and Alvarez. I'd still go for Foden. Remember, with Richarlison, he blanks in Game Week 26, whilst Foden doesn't, and he doubles in 25. Also, Garnacho, if you want a really cheap midfielder, he's okay. I'm not a big fan of him, particularly in FPL. I think there are better options. And with the midfield, I'd rather go for more established, consistent options. Even for a bit more, you can go for Douglas Luiz or Palmer. Even Gordon as well. Gross. I just think there are better options. Bojan Skribic says, hey Dylan, thoughts on Watkins captain? I'm not against it. I mentioned some stats earlier. Watkins has 3 goals in 2 home games against Newcastle, and he's never blanked at Villa Park against them. So not a bad shout at all. I'm actually thinking of changing it myself and going for Watkins. Best defender to bring in this week, Walker. Then it'd be Estupinian or Trent. But yeah, I'd say Walker. Just keep it simple. Urbina Egunu says Foden or Bernardo Silva. Foden. Bernardo Silva has been quite good this season, but most of his returns, have come away from home. I think his only haul in a home match was against Bournemouth when City won 6-1, I think it was. But yeah, Foden for me is more consistent. Bringing Gordon or Eze for Salah. It's an awkward time to buy Gordon, but I'd rather go for him over Eze. So this week, Eze looks better, but long term, I'd rather go for Gordon. Start Archer over an Arsenal defender. I covered this. You can go for it if you want, but I'd just go for the 2 Arsenal defenders. Is it Elise basic? The thing is with Elise, he just plays in a very inconsistent team. He was in good form before his injury, and Sheffield United is a plum fixture, regardless, but I'm just not a big fan of Palace midfielders even. Eze or Elise? Eze's on penalties. Elise was more consistent before his injury, but probably Eze. Finding it hard to bench Gabriel and Zinchenko of Arsenal's second best clean sheet odds this week. Yes, but look, I'm an Arsenal fan myself. I'm not that optimistic about a clean sheet. I also look at the recent record at the City ground, and Arsenal have lost all 3 of the last 3 meetings there, so not really particularly great. Bench one of Palmer or Bodder instead. I mean, I'd rather bench Palmer from those 2, but honestly, I think it's just worth benching. This is the thing, though. You've got 2 Arsenal defenders. I'd just bench one of them and start Palmer and Bodder. That's the way voice cracking. That's the way I'd go about it. And I think I'd bench Gabriel. I know someone recently mentioned that Gabriel could thrive with Forest having some problems from set pieces, but yeah, I'd probably bench one of your defenders there. -4 from Neto to Richarlison. Yeah, I'd do it, I think. Just bear in mind he blanks in Game Week 26. Can I captain Estupinian, and should I sell Alvarez for Haaland or Gordon for Foden for a -4? I mean, you can captain Estupinian, but I'm not a big fan of that. As I said, I think Luton Town will score. And I don't think Brighton will make it 3 league clean sheets in a row. I wouldn't sell Alvarez to Haaland this week. So if you were to make a move, it'd be Gordon to Foden, and then next week in 23, you can buy Haaland for Alvarez. Yes, I will get Haaland back, but probably in Game Week 23, not now, unless we get confirmation of him starting from a reliable source. I'll be keeping an eye out. I'd also encourage you to leave any links in the live chat. That'd be greatly appreciated. Start Areola or Leno. I've mentioned this in a few comment section recently. I'd probably favour Leno a little bit more. Can you explain how you're going to get Haaland back? Sell Archer to Haaland. I've got enough money, so it's very simple actually. Start Diaby or Solanke. Solanke. Captain Alvarez, Foden or Haaland. Foden is my preference out of the 3. Start Gordon or Solanke. I just covered that, didn't I? I've covered it before anyway, but Solanke. Milner Puss's team rolling this week, but would you change the 11? Thanks for the help. Yeah, I can see why you're rolling. I'd potentially start Haaland, but over who? Difficult. If I were to start him over anyone, it'd be Palmer or Gross. I think that's the only change I'd make. Start Archer, yeah, I can't lie, mate. You've asked this question like 4 times and I've covered it multiple times. Same with the Neto to Richarlison question. Who to bench, who to start? Pedro Porro, Augusto, Trent, Trippier, Zinchenko, Palmer, Gordon, Foden, KDB, Garnacho, Raul, Solanke, Watkins. Yeah, so, okay, so 3 players to bench, right? So I'd bench Gusto, that's for sure. I'd bench Trippier. And I think the last one I'd bench is probably Garnacho. I think that's the way I'd go about it. KDB a risk? Yes. I mean, he hasn't started a single game since returning from injury, but I think he will. Yeah, spam questions will not be answered, just letting you know now. I'm just going to go to another chat and be able to moderate this. Kind of annoying. Kind of strange there. All good, Adil. What about you? Sell Diaby for Maddison or Jota? I'd go for Jota. Jota, Richarlison. Jota. Thank you, by the way, Ruben, for moderating the chat. For some reason, I can't do it from the chat that I have on screen. Welcome, Geotip. Oasis says, 2 free transfers, 4 million in the bank. Is it worth getting rid of Gabriel for Estupinian? I think long-term Estupinian is a better pick, but I wouldn't sell Gabriel this week. Stay away, don't jinx Watkins. I'll probably just go for him anyway. Salah, KDB, or Foden, or Roll. Salah to Foden is my preference, but KDB is absolutely fine. Why Palmer over Saliba? Well, there is still a possibility that Trent and Palmer do well, you know, respectively, that they both can produce returns at the same time. Of course, the chances are slim, but I just think with Saliba, I don't think his ceiling is that high. If he does haul, it's most likely 6-7 points, whilst with Palmer or Trent, they could easily get 8 points or above. So that's just the way I think about it. And I also don't think Arsenal keep a clean sheet. So I'm looking at Saliba and I'm expecting 1 or 2 points from him. EY says bench 1, Saliba. Geotip says sell Solanke or Sterling. I'd rather sell Sterling. Adil says captain Foden or Alvarez. Foden. Urid says Richarlison or Jota. Jota. Is Ayew back? Well, Ghana got knocked out of the African Cup of Nations recently, so yes, he should be available for selection. Will he start? I'm not so sure, but would I go for Ayew in the first place? No. Luis Diaz starting or Haaland starting from the bench? I'd rather go for Haaland. Now, having said that, Diaz against Chelsea, I mean, yeah, I'd probably still go for Haaland. Should I bench Alvarez or Gross? Gross. I'd bench Gross. Alex says start Estupinian or Gabriel over Palmer or Tony. I think I'd just stick with Palmer and Tony. Sterling for Richarlison or Foden? Foden. Think about having Palmer, Gordon and Gabriel on the bench. Yeah, it is very risky, of course, but sometimes it just comes down to luck, really. Especially with these 50-50 calls. Who to bench, Konsa or Palmer, says Christian. I'd rather bench Konsa. Mara says who to bench or captain. From the players you have, it'd be either KDB or Alvarez captain. And if you want to go against City, Watkins is the next best, in my opinion. In terms of benching, I would drop... That is tricky. I'm guessing it's 1 player to drop, right? And if that's the case, it would be Douglas Luiz. Yeah, it's between him and Palmer, I think, to bench. Start Palmer or Gordon. Palmer. Sell Solanke too. I'd keep Solanke personally, but if you were to sell him, I would be looking at probably either Tony or Joao Pedro right now. Start Haaland or KDB. I mean, if I had both of them, I'd start both, if I'm being honest with you. KDB is more likely to start in Gameweek 22, and if that's what you're looking for, then KDB is the one. I'm captaining Isak, says Muntalib. Good luck. I'm not really for that, but it'd probably be a better captaincy haul than myself. Jota captain. He's one of the most favoured by Drafthound in terms of predicted points. I'm not against that at all. Jota would be maybe 5th in my list for the captaincy. He's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 11 games against Chelsea and no goal contributions whilst at Liverpool. Best defender for Lascelles, already got Trent, Gabriel, Bodder and Taylor. It'd be Walker or Estupinian there, Jack. Walker's the best one to buy right now. Adel not really keeping up with FPL recently, so how likely is Liverpool to double in Gameweek 25? Well, it should be confirmed by the Thursday or Friday, if it does indeed fall under Gameweek 25. Now, there is a chance that it still gets confirmed afterwards, but obviously the longer it goes on, the less likely it becomes to occur. It's still quite likely, I'd say, but the chances are diminishing with each passing day. Leno or Areola? Leno this week. Steve Wedger says bench 1, Saliba, Gordon, Mikalenko, or Gabriel. I'd probably bench an Arsenal defender in that instance, so either Saliba or Gabriel. Bazooka says Haaland. He's available for selection, but he might be on the bench. Start Gross or Palmer, says Kaftan. I'd start Gross, but I'm not completely sure about that. Normally, I'd say Palmer. Best captaincy options this week. I covered this just to kind of reiterate quite quickly. Foden, I was going to say Haaland, but I'd probably abstain from that. Alvarez, De Bruyne, Watkins, Jota, Richarlison, and I'd say then Saka and Bowen. Those are my top 7, I think. I might be forgetting 1 or 2, but that's generally what I'm looking at. Should I start Areola or Raya? Areola. Haaland or Palmer? I'd probably go for Haaland, personally. It's very risky, though. I'm not going to lie to you, so good luck. Start 3, Bowen, Palmer, Watkins, Solanke. I would bench Palmer. Also doing Archer to Haaland and benching Gordon. I'd do it. I know it's a risky anyway, and Gordon can do well against Aston Villa. He returned in Game Week 1 against them, but yeah, I mean, a lot of us will be buying Haaland back anyway in Game Week 23 or 24, so you're just doing that move a bit earlier. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it, but you might be limited to a 1-pointer, of course. But look, there's always these pros and cons to these transfers, but I don't mind that at all. Bench Solanke or Palmer? Palmer. Jota or Solanke, who's most likely to score? Jota. Watkins captain, I'm potentially looking at it, which some people are kind of hoping I don't. Best defender for Lascelles, I covered this, Jack. Like I said, I'd go for Walker, and if not, I'd go for Stupinian. Jota, Solanke, Kanate, pick one to play. Jota. Doughty or Saliba? Saliba. Yeah, welcome, Goldhead. And also, you're a channel member now, so enjoy it. Jemmy Barros says, I need to bench 2 between Alvarez, Watkins, Solanke, Gross, Ake, and Gabriel. I would bench... Tricky. Gabriel, unfortunately, would drop to the bench. The thing is with Ake, he might not even start, and he could even come on for a 1-pointer, but if he does start, I would expect him to get 6-7 points. Oh, that is tricky. Probably Gabriel and Ake, but maybe try find a way to squeeze Ake into the team if you back him to start. Thank you, Punjabi, as he says. Let's keep smashing the like button. Let's get this stream to 150 likes. We're literally 16 away. And I appreciate those that have tuned in from the very beginning. We start a bit early from 3:30 p.m. UK time, and there's now 55 minutes left until the deadline. And also, massive shout out goes to the channel members and patrons. We gifted 5 new memberships today. And not only that, to those that send in super chats, you're always massively appreciated, and you help the channel to grow even further. Let's now quickly talk about the channel members and patrons and giving all of you the shout out you deserve. And thank you once again to Punjabi. So let's just get this live chat up again. So let's read this out for a few minutes, and then we're going to go back to just talking about my FPL team, what I'm looking to do, and also back to your questions and seeing if there's any updates that are going to pop up until the deadline. So a shout out to Natalie S, El Padrino, Ben Edits, Goldhead, Ala Madrid, Stephen, Fax, Bada, Jehan, Fruit Plug, Ananda Peroni, Unruly DMV, Tiggy Taylor, Mauro Rodriguez, Ventislav, Julio Peña, Diego Zamora, Amanda Var, Jazabi, Farhad, Pablo Cordero, Lavonier, Joao Cabral, Simon Spears, Ulises Casares, Abhishek Patra, Cat7861, I think I did that, 78681, Bestie, Nothama, Beercan, Sergi, That Air, FPL Eric, Ripstars United, George Popescu, Alex Leadham, Gabriel Fernandez, and John Granquist, who was at the beginning of the stream. He's literally the longest member of them all, 27 months. So yeah, over 2 years. I massively appreciate that. And also to the patrons, so Alex Orlov, Federico Simos, Andres Suarez, Luis Alexander Perella, Lovro Zuvic, Rodrigo Urias, and Federico Caliso. So a massive shout out to the 50+ channel members and patrons we have, and also to those that send in super chats every single time. And we are very close now to 150 likes. Let's be sure to get to that whilst we go back to your questions. So, start Darwin or Palmer, says you. I'd start Darwin. Steve Wedger says bench 1. I'd probably bench an Arsenal defender there and diversify things a little bit. Worth doing Darwin to Haaland already for free. I'd probably hold on to Darwin for now, especially with the form he's in. you could just delay that move to Game Week 23 instead. Watkins captain. He's got 3 goals in 2 home games against Newcastle, so I'm not against that at all. I'm looking actually to potentially change that. So Saudi Arabia score apparently, so that's not looking good for Heung-min Son and South Korea. Or maybe for those of you that want Heung-min Son back as soon as possible, you might be happy with that news. Son eliminated as of now. MacDrax says Diaby to KDB or roll. Yeah, I'm not against that transfer whatsoever. Whilst information and 2 free transfers in Game Week 23 is really tempting and also probably the best way to go about it, I think KDB is a great transfer. I think it's just a massive upgrade from Diaby. Start Gabriel or Gay? Probably Gay for me. I think Gabriel will start, by the way, Ali. And also the reports that I talked about at the beginning of the stream indicate that Gabriel and Rice will start. But I think Gay is more likely to get a clean sheet. Any update on Salah? He's out for Game Week 22 and 23, confirmed by Jurgen Klopp. I think Haaland would start. What do you think, Dylan, for captaincy? Well, if you back Haaland to start, he's the best captaincy option. But I personally think he'll be on the bench. And if that's the case, he would be a bit lower down in the captaincy. Of course, you can still get 1 or 2 goals with limited minutes. But yeah, you always favour those that start the games, of course. Milner says, if Saka blanks this week with Watkins, Pedro, Haaland, Richarlison, Foden, Palmer and Gross in my team, would you consider bringing in Salah and benching him before he rises? No. No, because what you could also do is Saka to Jota, for example, and then you can buy Salah back for another midfielder, maybe even Foden, but you probably wouldn't do that anyway with double Game Week 25 coming up. But I wouldn't buy Salah back early when he's going to miss out against Arsenal, according to Klopp. Walker in, but who to get rid of, Colwill or Pau Torres? Probably Colwill. Pau Torres has better fixtures long term, and he also doesn't blank in Game Week 26. Whilst with Colwill, I mean, what you could argue is that Chelsea are more likely to feature in Game Week 29 than Aston Villa are, but the fixture will be Arsenal, which isn't particularly great anyway, at the Emirates. But yeah, Pau Torres is the better one to keep. Unfortunately, though, he has been injured for quite a while, and it does seem like just seems very problematic. He just, we expected him to be back very soon, and it hasn't been the case. Garnacho or Palmer? Palmer. Yes, Padrino, hopefully everyone gets green arrows here. Don't you think you should start Saliba ahead of Stupinian, given that the Arsenal defence is more solid? Yeah, I think in terms of clean sheet chances, I talked about this in all my videos. I think Arsenal more likely than Spurs and Brighton, but I also think the attacking potential of Stupinian and Pedro Porro is much higher. Having said that, though, Stupinian's underlying numbers aren't particularly great since his return, so he has been massively overperforming, and he typically plays as a left centre-back at Brighton in the last few games. But yeah, it's a good point that you raise, but I just personally think Saliba will get 1 or 2 points, and if he does get a clean sheet, then I'd be happy to be proven wrong. But yeah, let's wait and see. Is KDB starting? I think he will. The key word is think. Worth a double up in Man City midfield with Foden and KDB? Up until Game Week 25, yes. Longer term, I'd like to diversify that. And especially if you're looking to bring in Haaland, yeah, if it makes it difficult to get Haaland, I wouldn't go for KDB. Start Concert or Gordon? Gordon. Vincent Rantek says who to bench for Bowen. Tricky one, but probably Palmer. The alternative is benching Gross. Why not Alvarez Cap? Well, I don't have him personally. If I did, I would consider him. But with Haaland in the squad again and potentially taking minutes off the Argentine, I'm just a bit less keen on him. Is Gabriel playing? According to the recent reports, yes, he will. SR Collins is a journalist that has stated that Rice and Gabriel will play. Any Brentford players you want in for the double game week? Just Ivan Toney. No one else. Maybe Mbumo if he returns quite soon, but they're the only 2 I'd consider. Durgesh says bench 1. I'd bench Gabriel. Toney in this week. Look, the fixture isn't too bad. Tottenham are quite poor defensively, but I wouldn't buy Toney this week necessarily. Bench Martinelli or Palmer? I'd bench Palmer. Palmer or Garnacho? I'd start Palmer. Bench Martinelli or Palmer. Bench one of Trent, Saliba, Stupinian, Porro and Watkins. I would bench Saliba. Watkins is actually a great captaincy option. He shouldn't be in the benching dilemmas, in my opinion. Yeah, I think we've covered that, Durgish. Bowen or Eze? Bowen. Play 1, says Jack. I'd probably play Palmer. Who to play out of Palmer and Semenyo? I would play Palmer. Or Richarlison, says Nico. Bowen still. I think Bowen first, Richarlison second, Eze third. JFit TV says Solanke or Palmer. Solanke this week. Is benching Palmer a big risk? It is a big risk, but it could be worth taking because it is Liverpool away. Liverpool have won, well, they're unbeaten at Anfield anyway this season. They've only dropped points once against Man United. And yeah, with Chelsea, they've actually been quite good in the big games, but I think if there's ever a time to bench Palmer, it'd be this week. Start two between Bellingham, Bell, Trent and Watkins. Trent and Watkins, that's for sure. I'm going for Saka captain. Yes, but he does sometimes share penalties. I don't think he's taken a single penalty away from home this season. Yeah, the thing is with Saka, though, he is in poor form compared to Foden, but I want to say you're mad. Saka is still a good FPL option. He just hasn't shown it recently. And he did get robbed with an assist in Gameweek 21, but let's move on. Salah to Eze or Gross? I'd rather go for Gross long term. Should I remove Trippier for Trent with one transfer or remove Salah for KDB? I think the better move this week would be Salah to KDB, but remember, if you want to buy Erling Haaland back and buying KDB makes it difficult to do so, I wouldn't go for that at all. How much do you have in the bank? I think like 8 million or something. It's enough to get Haaland in for Archer with a few million to spare. 0.2, 0.3 million. Trip to Trent or Salah to KDB Richie? Yeah, so same question pretty much. I'd do Salah to KDB or Richarlison. I think that is the best move. Is Stupinian to Lascelles? I'm guessing it's the other way around. Or roll the transfer and put Akanji cash to start. Akanji is available for selection, but he might not start the game. But I think it's worth risking in your case, having Akanji start, cash first on your bench, and delay the Stupinian move for now. But Lascelles is a sell, regardless. Should I bench Gabriel or Arnold? I'd bench Gabriel. Diogo Veranda says KDB, Foden or Richarlison captain. Out of those three, Foden's my preference, and bench one of Palmer, Solanke or Joao Pedro. I would bench Palmer this week. Captain between Foden and Alvarez. I would captain Foden. Buy Walker or Estupinian? Walker right now. Salah out for KDB this week. Next, Alvarez out for Darwin. Is it worth? The thing is, though, Haaland should be available to start in Gameweek 23, that's for sure. And you probably want him back. I rarely say this about players, but with Haaland facing Chelsea and Brentford at home in Gameweek 25 and the fixtures before and afterwards, it's very difficult for me to say avoid him. If possible, buy him back. And I'm not a big fan of these 1 week punt transfers with your forward line. Start Gordon or Palmer. Palmer. Jota, Richarlison. Jota. Thank you, Griggle. As he says, smash the like button. Captain one, play one. Out of those three, I'd captain Alvarez and I'd bench Saka. I wouldn't bench any of them, mate. It's tricky to do that. Captain KDB, Foden or Watkins. Foden is my current preference, but I'm not going to lie. I'm being swayed a bit by Watkins, and I did this a few weeks ago. Lost out on 8 points as a result, but Watkins still got 8 points himself. Lascelles out for Trent, Saliba, Gabriel. Trent is my favourite. What to do with Colwill? I'd sell him if possible. He blanks in Gameweek 26, misses out in Gameweek 22, and it was Liverpool away anyway. The next two after in 23 and 24 are pretty good. But yeah, I just think Colwill is a sell if possible. I start Saka or Palmer. I'd start Saka. Benching Palmer, captaining Bowen. Not a bad shout, to be fair. Lascelles out. Yeah, I covered that mostly. I'd go for Trent. Just going to try cover different questions. Like I said, I don't want to just repeat, especially spam questions. Are you rolling the transfer for this game week? As things stand, yes. If I were to make a transfer, it'd be Haaland in for Archer or Jota in for Gross or Saka. Would you go for Son to Foden KDB or keep Son if he gets knocked out of the Asian Cup? Tricky one, isn't it? But I still think it's worth going for a City player like Foden or KDB. And look, there's still plenty of time for South Korea to come back. I'm not keeping an eye on the updates there. South Korea's knocked out. Ignore what I just said there. I thought there was still a little while to go. Sell Son to Richarlison or Jota or roll, it says Tob22. Well, Son is now potentially back for Gameweek 23. So I don't want to do Son to Richarlison. Having said that, if Liverpool get a double in 25, Son to Jota, I think is the best move. Alvarez to Haaland this week, says Henrik. I'd delay that by another week, to be fair. Hi Dylan, who will you keep, Saka or Gross? In Gameweek 23, if I were to bring in Jota, it would be for Saka. And the reason why is because Gross is much cheaper. And if I kept Saka and sold Gross to Jota, I would not be able to afford Archer to Haaland. And that's the key reason why. I don't think it's bad to start Gabriel. Arsenal have one of the best chances on paper of keeping a clean sheet, but I personally don't think they will. Would you sell Saka for Foden, Jota? If so, which one? Probably Foden, if I had to pick one. Jota is more clinical, more efficient. You know, if he comes off the bench, he can still do well. I wouldn't say the same about Foden. But the fixtures and the double in 25 lead me towards Foden. Captain Foden or Alvarez? Foden. Walker or Stupinian for up to Gameweek 26? Walker. Would you go for Son to Foden, KDB, or keep Son? He's already knocked out there, Duran. I'd still sell Son if possible. I've had Foden captain since the end of last game week. Every time I switch it last minute, I lose points. Yeah, look, I was a bit different finally with the captaincy in Game Week 20. I went to Watkins, last minute switch from Salah, and I got burnt. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe that's traumatized me too much. SR Collins, journalist, how to find. I'll just show you on screen there, so you can see the @ and you can also see, you can basically click his profile and see what his official username is. It's SR_Collins, and according to him, Declan Rice and Gabriel will start today against Nottingham Forest, and to be fair, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Abdul says, hi, bench one of these, Gordon, Solanke, Jesus. I'd probably bench Jesus, actually. SOCLH says, good evening, Dylan. Thoughts on Bernardo Silva in and bench Gordon? The thing is with Silva, though, most of his returns have come in away matches. His only big haul, or his only haul actually, at the Etihad this season was against Bournemouth. But apart from that major haul, he's blanked in every single other game. Plan is to have Triple City attacking the double, along with Haaland and Foden. Yeah, of course, the ideal one would be Haaland, Foden, and De Bruyne as a triple up in the attack, or going for Walker in the back line. I'm not going to lie to you, but if you want to go for a triple up and you don't want to go for De Bruyne in the attack, then yeah, fair enough. Bernardo Silva is the next best option. Start Palmer or Solanke. I'd go for Solanke this week. Play Jesus or Palmer. I'd still go for Palmer, to be fair. Omar Hani says play free. Palmer, Richarlison, Saka, Solanke, Gross. Also have to bench two. I'd bench Palmer and potentially Gross. Captain Darwin or Foden, says Jay. Captain Foden. Callum Jr. says, would it be better to replace Watkins for Haaland right now or wait till Game Week 26 to move on for Darwin? I wouldn't sell Watkins to Haaland right now. I'm not so sure about that, to be fair, mate, because with Haaland, you want him back for double Game Week 25, but maybe now is not the time. You wait one more week or two. Having said that, with Darwin, he's in great form, but if he doesn't double in 25, I'd be eager to sell him soon anyway, especially once Salah returns in Game Week 24 or 25. Oh, okay, thank you, Underpar. I just thought, someone said he's knocked out already. I'll check it for myself. It's probably the best thing to do. I appreciate that. So, with South Korea, let's see what minute they're on. Let's see if I can find them. Yeah, it's the 62nd minute, so time is running out for them, but there is 28 minutes left and extra time for them to make a comeback. So yeah, let's keep an eye out on that result. I've got it on one of my other browsers. Dylan, should I get Trent for a -4 or go for Gabriel? Go for Gabriel. Richarlison or Saka for captain? You know what? I'd favour Saka a little bit more, which is an unpopular opinion, I think. But despite the form favouring Richarlison, I still think Saka. Do I? I just also look at the fixture, and I do think Brentford at home is slightly easier than Nottingham Forest away for both teams at this moment in time. Yeah, I'll stick with Saka, but maybe that's a bit more hope. Thank you to Stepaki. Underscore Eurostay. Yes, that's probably the reason why. Should I buy Gordon? Seems boring, but already have Richarlison and Foden, and don't want to buy KDB. Any other options? I wouldn't buy Gordon this week, though. I'd buy him in Game Week 23. Yeah. Any other options? Jota, Richarlison. Obviously, you say you got Richarlison, but Jota, KDB would be the more exciting pick, so to speak. Ali says, but Gordon or Foden out for De Bruyne? It'd be Gordon. You don't sell Foden when he's at home to Burnley, in my opinion. Gross, Saka, Bowen, Palmer, Jota, which three to start? I think I covered this, but basically I'd start Saka, Bowen, and Jota. Start one, Gordon, Bailey, or Palmer? I'd start Palmer. Mandip says, hi Dylan, should I do Salah to KDB or Mabama to Haaland? Long term, the best move is Haaland, so I'm going to stick with that. This week, though, KDB I think will outscore Haaland. based on the minutes potential. Start Saliba over Gomez. I'm not completely against that, to be fair. It's not a bad shout. Norland says start 2 of Gabriel, Trent and Estupinian. I'd bench Gabriel. I said Foden captain, but if I do Salah to KDB, might have to switch to him. Not sure I can go too wrong with either. Yeah, people are obviously going to be a bit conflicted regardless with Haaland and De Bruyne now back. Haaland could even start, although I'd probably say 23 is more likely. You've got all these doubts now about Foden and his minutes potential, Alvarez, and of course with Kevin De Bruyne himself. Elise is exciting. For this week, yes, but long-term, a Palace attacker, I wouldn't really class that as exciting. But in terms of the differential aspect and his high ceiling, yes, I can see what you mean. Salah to KDB so I can bench Archer. It's a good move, but once again, think about Haaland. Can you still bring him back in? I'm not so sure. Bench one of Gabriel, Trent or Palmer. I'd bench Gabriel. Will Haaland start? I don't think so, but I might be wrong. Captain Alvarez or KDB? I would captain probably Alvarez. He's the safer pick. KDB's the more exciting one with the highest ceiling, to be fair. If you back KDB to start, I'd captain him. Cunha to Jimenez, Pedro, benching Solanke, says Upukan. If I were to sell Cunha, it'd be to João Pedro. I wouldn't go to Jimenez, no way. As for benching Solanke, I'm not so sure if that's a good idea. Bowen or Jota, says Martin Budworth. This week, Bowen. Overall, for the next 3-4 game weeks, I'd say Jota. Palmer or Gross? I'd say Gross this week, just about. When will Pau Torres be back? I'm not so sure, but he's been out for a while, and he's out again for Game Week 22. So it's kind of a wait and see. Estupinian, Solanke, Watkins, Palmer, bench 1. Probably Estupinian for me. Bringing KDB or Foden, says Varmi Tatari. KDB gives me one less play in 29. Potentially that is Saka. I'd rather go for Foden. I have Martinez and Petrovic at the goals. What to do with them as a long-term plan? Well, Aston Villa are more likely to blank in Game Week 29. And it all depends on their fixture against Chelsea in the FA Cup 4th round replay. And you also have Chelsea blanking in Game Week 26. I think the plan would be to get Areola for one of them. And maybe you could say Petrovic is the one to sell. Will Jota start though? Just came back from injury and played 90 minutes in the Cup. I mean, he was on the bench in the Carabao Cup semi-finals, the second leg against Fulham, but he did start in the FA Cup. Difficult one to call, but I think Jota could start. I think he will. I probably won't buy him in this week anyway. Are you still debating getting in Haaland? Well, right now it's not a debate. My plan is to not get him this week, and instead I'll probably get him in Game Week 23. So he is back. He's going to be available for selection, but that doesn't mean he's going to start. If we got confirmation from a leak or reliable source, then yes, he'd come in for Archer, and then I'd bench someone like Palmer or Gross. Thank you, says Amaro, for your effort in always providing funded advice as usual. Thoughts on the chip strategy? 3 City and 2 Liverpool players, Game Week 25, triple captain, 3 and 29, wildcard and bench boost when? I appreciate that. Yeah, I think triple captain in 25 looks the best. Otherwise, you're probably looking to delay that to Game Week 37, which will be another double game week and probably a much bigger one at that. In terms of the free hit, yeah, 29 is a good shout, but it's also it's a blank game week, the biggest one of the season, and you might want to use a free hit instead in Game Week 34 or 37, so that's also a possibility for you. My current thinking, actually, with the chip strategy, and this is not locked in, is to triple captain in Game Week 25, free hit in Game Week 34, wildcard in either Game Week 30 or 35, and to bench boost in Game Week 37. But I've also got some backup plans. So with a triple captaincy, like I mentioned, it could be 37 instead. With a free hit, I might even free hit in 29, as you mentioned. And for the wild card, there could also be Game Week 31 or 36 as well, not just 30 or 35. And for the bench boost, maybe even Game Week 34 and getting it out of the way a little bit early. So it's not set in stone, but that's kind of roughly what my chip strategy is at the moment, which is still subject to some more information based on the FA Cup results in the 4th round replays and the 5th round. Walker in for Lascelles or Haaland in for Archer? This week it'd be Walker in for Lascelles, and then I'd do Haaland in for Archer next week if possible. Now, what's the best move long term? It's Haaland, of course. Trent, Saliba and Gabriel, start any two. Trent and any Arsenal defender you pick. It's up to you, but I'd bench one Arsenal defender for sure. I said earlier I'd start Saliba for Gabriel, just a personal, gut feeling. I might be wrong. It's up to you who you go for. Should I buy Estupinian or Walker? If I get Estupinian, I don't need to sell Solanke to get Haaland, unlike Walker. Yeah, in that case, I just buy Stupinian. Looking at fixtures, says Goldhead. Let me see if I can... Okay. Yeah. I can see a healthy route to go without Haaland as long as until 24-25. Pedro and Solanke can suffice, all on paper, however. Yeah, of course. Look, you don't need to rush back to get Haaland in. I think now is the bigger worry against Burnley at home compared to Brentford away. Man City lost both games against Brentford last season. Probably will be a different case this time round, but I can see what you mean. No transfers made, says Abir. Yeah, same here. Damilola says start Gordon and Palmer this week. Yes, I'd rather start Palmer over Gordon. It's not ideal. Both of them have difficult fixtures, but they can still do well. Start Palmer or Garnacho. I'd start Palmer. No need to spam. -4 to do Bone to Jota. Nope. Not for me. Gross or Doughty? Gross. 4-3-3 with Gabriel or 3-4-3 with Palmer? I'd go for Palmer and a 3-4-3. Darwin or Tony? Who scores more points till Gameweek 26? I'd say Tony, based on the extra fixture right now. Damilola, I literally answered your question, mate. And Sam, you're spamming the chat kind of unnecessarily. Start Haaland over Bodro, Stupinian, Trent, Walker. I'd probably start him over Stupinian personally. Hi Dylan, who should I bring in to play for the next few weeks? KDB, Richarlison, Jota, Haaland, Maddison. I'd say Jota, and then I'd buy in Haaland in Gameweek 23 or 24. Would you sell Salah to Jota or just hold Salah? Well, Salah's missing Gameweek 22 and 23. That is official news, confirmed by Jurgen Klopp. He's missing the Chelsea and Arsenal games, so I would sell him. Thank you, Abdullah. Saving the transfer this week. At the moment, yes. If I see any news now about Haaland starting, then I will change it. But it's very unlikely we're going to get that news. I'm checking quickly some sites that are known for Man City news, but I don't think we're going to get anything, unfortunately. If you see anything, be sure to drop it in the live chat. It'd be massively appreciated. Bench Gabriel or Palmer? I'd bench Gabriel. Watkins, Solanke, Palmer, Pedro, bench one. So many benching questions today. Probably the most we've ever had. I would bench Palmer. Would you start Haaland, Palmer, Bodro, or Gabriel? How many am I picking? If I had to pick one, it'd be Haaland, but his minutes could be very limited this week. And if you don't want to go for him, you could always go for Bodro. Abir puts his team. No transfers made. I meant for this. Watkins on my bench. Don't bench Watkins. It makes no sense. He's got 3 goals in 2 home games against Newcastle at Villa Park. If I were to bench someone, it's probably actually Diaz, if anything. Which, to be fair, you might disagree with. But yeah, don't bench Watkins. Is Captain Haaland too big of a risk? It's a major risk, but who knows? Who knows at this point? Even with De Bruyne, it's the same thing with him, although he's more likely to start in Game Week 22. ENG Amon Kibet says, hello Dylan, good luck this game week, likewise. Do I take a gamble on Gabriel or take a hit for Colwill and get Walker Stupinian? I just start Gabriel. Like I mentioned earlier, the reports indicate he will start against Nottingham Forest and they're from reliable sources. And it's not worth a -4 hit, in my opinion, to go for Stupinian or Walker this week. Long term, the hit pays off, but I'd just rather start Gabriel this week and do it for free next week. Curious Robin says, start 2, Solanke, Darwin, Gordon. Solanke and Darwin. Durgesh says, sell Salah to Jota or roll. I'd sell Salah to Jota. Upo Khan says, Watkins, Solanke, Palmer, Pedro, bench 1. I'm pretty sure I covered this already. I'd bench Palmer. Start Saliba or Mikalenko. Saliba, but just about. Acha Bacha says, Tony or Borro. I would go for Tony. Would you sell Saka to Jota or roll? I'd roll. Start Petrovic or Turner, says Andy C-Mac. I would start Turner. Captain Watkins, 3 goals in 2 home games against Newcastle. It's a good shout. I do like it. D Raven says Haaland in for Darwin or Watkins next week. I'd rather sell Darwin. However, if Liverpool get a double in Game Week 25, I'd maybe change my tune and sell Watkins instead. Yeah, Darwin has been doing better. That is true. But over the course of the season, Watkins has been far more consistent, in my opinion. Captain Watkins, Alvarez or Saka. I'd say Alvarez, but Watkins would be the next tempting option. Salah to Gross this week. Yeah, it's absolutely fine. The thing is with Gross, though, in the last couple of games, he's been a bit underwhelming. Brighton won 5-2 in the FA Cup, and Gross created 1 chance and never looked like scoring or assisting. So, yeah, I think there are better midfielders to buy, like Jota, Richarlison at the moment, and I think Jota's the best one. But Gross is fine. Who to buy? Who to play from Bodro, Trent, Estupiñán, and Gabriel? So I'd bench 1, right? I would bench Gabriel. Should I get in Trent or Jota this week? Depends who you're selling and what your situation is in each position, but I'd rather buy Jota right now. Long-term Trent is the better option, but for the short term, until Gameweek 26, when Liverpool blank, I think Jota's slightly better. Douglas Luiz to Foden or De Bruyne? I'd go to Foden. De Bruyne's got the highest ceiling this week. He's more exciting, lower owned player. Actually, no. I think he's actually higher than Foden. I have to double check that. But with Foden, I just think he's more consistent with the minutes. And with De Bruyne, you could see a lot of benching cameos this season. Is Haaland playing? I think he'll come off the bench, but I might be wrong. Liam Martin says who to bench out: Palmer, Bowen, Saka, Gordon and Foden. Gordon. I'd bench him. Would you sell Watkins for Pedro to make funds available for Son? No. No, I wouldn't sell Watkins just yet. Maybe in the future. But remember, Son blanks in Gameweek 26, so maybe the time to buy him would be Gameweek 27 onwards, especially with Spurs having a confirmed fixture in blank Gameweek 29. Bowen or Alvarez for captain? Alvarez. Who to captain? Says Scarpa. Like I said, Man City players look the best this week, so either Foden, De Bruyne or Alvarez. Apart from that, you're looking at Watkins, Bowen, or maybe someone like Saka still. Yeah, I think that's kind of where my head's at. Jota as well is not a bad option. What are your predicted minutes for Alvarez and Foden? I think with Alvarez, it'd be between... I mean, look, it's actually a good question. I'm not so sure. I think one of them, I'm not sure which one, will play around 70 minutes. Let's wait and see. I'm kind of conflicted about that one. Thank you, Music Kiwi. I appreciate it. But Palmer or Johnson? Palmer. Your thoughts on Robertson or Fulham? Confirmed fiction Gameweek 29, but I don't like Fulham defensively. I think there are better options elsewhere. Foden or KDB captain? I'd still go for Foden. A safer pick. If you want to go a bit bold and, you know, go for the high ceiling and you back De Bruyne to start, he's a great option. Prediction on Villa-Newcastle game? I think Villa will win. It might be a bit tighter than we expect, but I'd probably go for like a 2-1 Villa at the moment. Play Palmer or Gay? I'd go for Palmer. Now, Gay is more likely to return, but the ceiling is probably 6-7 points. So with Palmer, you could easily get a goal and you could be looking at 8+ points. So, yeah, it's also a bit of a shield pick, you could argue. Bench Palmer or Watson? I'm guessing that's Watkins. I'd bench Palmer in that instance. Elliot Enright says, thoughts on captaining Trent or Bodder as differentials? I don't expect Liverpool or Spurs to keep a clean sheet, but Liverpool are more likely. So if I had to pick a defender to captain, it'd be Trent. Yeah, Joao Pedro, hat-trick in the FA Cup, good returns in Premier League recently, so I could think of worse options, but not my favourite, I have to say, this week. But if you're feeling it, go for it. Back your gut. Bench 1 says Rick Toms, Solanke, Watkins, Gross or Palmer. I would bench Palmer. Alvarez to Haaland. I would delay that move by 1 more week. Thank you, Haribo, as always. I massively appreciate the super chat. Hi, Dylan. Do you think the chances of a Haaland haul is worth a -4 points, even if he only plays 30 minutes? Want to get Diogo and Haaland for Odegaard and Solanke? Well, yes. You know, even in 30 minutes, you're right. Haaland could score a goal or two. But I think just in terms of probabilities and the players you have, and also future transfer plans, I'd probably wait 1 more week with Haaland, unless in the next 24 minutes or so, before the deadline, we get confirmation of Haaland starting. In that case, I'd say do it. Take the -4 hit. But until then, if we don't get that news, I think the best play is to get Jota in for Odegaard for free and get Haaland for Solanke or any other striker next week or in 24 and not do it for a -4 hit this week. That'd be my advice. Let me know what you think in the live chat. Thank you, Elliot. Richarlison or Foden to captain? Foden. Start Watkins or Solanke, says okay. Watkins. Hey Dylan, Palmer or Gordon? Palmer. I still have Salah and 2 free transfers. Is he still a hold? He's missing Gimmick 22 and 23, so if you're happy to bench a £30 million player in the meantime, yeah, you could say he's a hold. But for me, I think for a lot of people, it's worth selling him and buying him back in a few weeks' time. Why is Foden so more heavily captained than Alvarez, although KDB is more fit than Haaland and Alvarez on pens? Am I missing something? Well, with Foden, he can play on the right and he can also play in the midfield alongside Kevin De Bruyne. And with Alvarez in the long term, once Haaland is ready to start, you're going to have Haaland starting up front, and De Bruyne is the main competitor with Alvarez for that attacking midfield role, which Alvarez tends to play at Man City. That's the main reason why. And I think with Haaland also, Pep Guardiola, look, there's nothing set in stone. Yes, De Bruyne is probably more likely to start this week, but Pep also said that De Bruyne's injury requires more management. And with Haaland, he said comments like this last season where Haaland can play every 2 or 3 days because of his age. And with De Bruyne, that's not the same case. So I think it goes both ways. Thank you, Maro. As he says, smash the like button and subscribe for new. Our aim is to get this stream to over 200 likes. Let's make sure to do that before we end. We are 23 likes away, so let's be sure to do it. It'd be massively appreciated. And we also have a decent number of viewers. I appreciate that. Those have been watching from the very beginning. Much love to all of you. And let's get back to your questions. We've answered hundreds, and we're going to go for probably a few hundred more, it seems, by the end of the deadline. What scenario do you see yourself captaining Palmer? This week, there's no scenario where I'm captaining Palmer. KDB versus Bowen for Son. Well, KDB has the double in 25, and he's got a great fixture in Game Week 23, even better than Bowen's. But I think Bowen longer term is the better pick. I'm not going to lie to you. Having said that, I think if I'm buying one now, I think I'd still go for Bowen, just because buying KDB might make it more difficult to buy Haaland in the future. Music says, okay, Palmer, Johnson, and Trippier can. I'm guessing that's Konsa. I'd go for Trippier still, just for the attacking potential, and I'd go for Palmer, as I mentioned to you before. Matt Drax says, bench one. I think I've covered this, mate, but I would bench Solanke. Start Gabriel Gay, did Salah to Jota, hopefully comes off scared for Jota minutes a bit. I would start Gay. Alvarez or KDB captain? Alvarez. Leno, Estupinian, Walker, Trent, Palmer, Bowen, Saka, Foden, Richarlison, Alvarez captain, Watkins, Ariella, Gabriel, Trippier, Archer. Start captain change. I think your starting 11 is fine. Captaincy is also good. My preference would be Foden and potentially Watkins, but Alvarez is a good shout. So there's not a need for a change. Hey Dylan, should I use my transfer to get in a defender? Says D. Raven. Current backline is Trent, Gabriel, Stupinian, Konsa, Robertson. Thinking of just rolling. I'd roll, and in the weeks to come, I'd buy Walker. Sakib says Saka to KDB. Current 11 is Foden. Well, yeah, Foden isn't there. Leno, Trent, Walker, Stupinian, Saka, Bowen, Foden, Palmer, Watkins, Solanke, and Darwin. Can also do Salah to Jota. Yeah, I'd do Salah to Jota. I think that's my preference. Abe says, should I roll the transfer and bench who? Yeah, I'd roll the transfer and I would bench Diaz. Hi Dylan, start Solanke or Garnacho? Solanke. What goalkeeper is the best option? Alisson will score the most points of any goalkeeper, but in terms of value, I'd argue Areola is still the best. And apart from those two, you're probably looking at Raya for the attacking potential for a goalkeeper. For the defensive capabilities of Arsenal, they've got the best underlying numbers for expected goals conceded, shots conceded, and I just think the clean sheets will come eventually on a consistent basis. Son 10 minutes away from being KO'd. Thank you for that. Bowen to Jota, says HD. I would keep Bowen. That Brighton away kit is genuinely horrible, says Goldhead. Careful, we've got a Brian fan in the chat. Son is back, by the way. Saudi are winning the game. Yeah, let's wait and see if it sticks, but it's looking likely. Are Robertson and Maddison returns flying under the radar? I actually talked about Maddison in the first Trans Tips video for Game Week 22. I said he's a buy. Now, I did say be cautious with him because he might be eased back in, but yeah, I think they are going under the radar. But there is a reason for that. Richarlison currently is playing down the middle on penalties, and Spurs blanking Game Week 26. With Liverpool, they also blank in Game Week 26. There's no confirmed double for Game Week 25 so far, and Trent is a better option than Robertson and worth the extra 2 million. So there's a reason why they're overlooked at the moment, but you're right, they should get a bit more love. Apparently it's Alvarez's birthday tomorrow. Yeah, that's the reason why I captained Watkins over Salah a few weeks ago, or one of the reasons, and I lost out on 8 points, so let's wait and see. Tony por Darwin. Es difícil porque Tony está jugando con Tottenham y defensivamente no son muy buenos, pero también con Darwin está jugando muy bien, está anotando goles en todos los partidos, en el FA Cup, en el Premier League. Pero yo creo, lo haría esa transferencia en la jornada 23 o 24. Y sí, generalmente creo que Tony es mejor que Darwin, pero creo que mantendría a Darwin en este momento. Bench Watkins or Darwin? I bench Darwin. I can sell Diaz for KDB or Jota and bench Gabriel. Yeah, look, either scenario is fine, Abir. I'd sell Diaz to Jota and bench Gabriel then. Worth doing Salah to Jota and Palmer to KDB? Yes, but Palmer is a very cheap option, offers great value, and from now until the end of the season, I would back him to do better than KDB. Now, that's absolutely fine, but then what's your plan to get Haaland back? Are you going to get him back? If not, I would reconsider. Bench boost Dubravka, Garnacho, Saliba, Doughty. It's a good bench. It could do pretty well. And look, if you expect that to get 15 plus points, it's worth bench boosting. I just think there will be better benches in the season, especially in Game Weeks 34 and 37. It's not that bad. Not keen on the Europa League one, says Twisted Parky. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's awful. Like, it's not my favourite. It's not like my kind of thing. But yeah. Dylan, do you know if there's a record for how the FPL Scout selection has done so far this season? I haven't really been keeping track, to be honest with you. Captain KDB, if you back him to start, if you're really confident, then go for it. I personally think there are safer and better picks. Yes, Kudus should be back. Ghana were eliminated from AFCON early in the group stages, and Kudus is now available for selection. Let's see if he's fit enough to start or be in the squad. Bench Watkins or Darwin? I'd bench Darwin, I mentioned this. Should I start Haaland over Neto? I would. I don't back Arsenal to keep a clean sheet, which is why Saliba's on my bench. A doggy to Trent for a -4? I'd do it. Bench Bernardo or Gabriel? I would bench Gabriel. Is it worth Martinelli to Jota? Yes. Captain KDB or Foden? Foden. I literally just said it. I think the best option is getting Jota in. Both options are fine, but I'd go for Jota in and bench Gabriel. Sagar says bench 1, Palmer, Bowen, Martinelli, Solanke. I would bench Palmer. Also starting Saliba over Palmer this week. It's kind of a play against a 10 play. I don't mind it that much, but I'd still go for Palmer. At the moment anyway. Who should I bench? Saliba or Garnacho for Trent? I'd bench Garnacho. Start 3, bench 1. I would bench Rashford. I'd bench Rashford. Alfred says hold Son and roll transfer or sell him. Depends who you're bringing in and who's starting in Son's absence. Are you happy to have him on your bench? If so, then yeah, you can keep Son, but my preference is to sell him regardless. He is going to be back, it looks like, in Game Week 23. The game will be over, though, the South Korea game, before the Game Week 22 deadline, unless it goes to extra time, of course. Jota or Foden? Jota's in better form right now, and he's more efficient, but with the fixtures in mind, I'd go for Foden. When are we selling Saka? I'm potentially looking at Game Week 23. Saka to Jota, and obviously they're facing each other. Jota's got a great record against Arsenal. And yeah, that's probably when I'm looking to do it, if I indeed go ahead with it. Palmer or Watkins? Watkins this week. Captain Foden or Saka? Foden. Any Arsenal team news? Rice and Gabriel are expected to start according to SR Collins. I covered this earlier. Foden or Alvarez as captain? I prefer Foden. Both are good. Hi Dylan, just got here. Do I start both Zinchenko and Saliba? I'd start with just one of them, I think. So I'd start Stupinian, Anderson, and then either Zinchenko or Saliba, based on your preference. I wouldn't start both, if possible. Son to Richarlison for free. I'm not so sure about that in particular, because if Son is knocked out now, they both blank in Game Week 26, and Son should be back in Game Week 23. And when Son is back, he's a better option than Richarlison. Gabriel is starting, as I can see on Twitter. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, and even from last week, I said I was very confident that he will be available. Play 2, Watkins, Gordon, Solanke, says Isak. I would play Watkins and Solanke. A7 Mad says Martinelli out to Foden or roll. Yeah, I'd sell him to Foden. I think that's a good move. Captain Richarlison or Foden? I'd go for Foden. Best captain Richarlison, Foden or Watkins? Foden. Like I said, I'm quite open to changing it to Watkins potentially. Sell Colwell and Salah to whom for a -4? I have Foden. I'd say Walker at the moment and possibly Foden or Jota. Yeah, you got Foden, so Jota. What about Virgil or Saliba, mate? This week I'd start Saliba. Yeah, a lot of these questions we have answered already. Captain Isak or Saka? I'd go for Saka. Start Gay or Gabriel? I would start Gay. Is Salah to Foden or Richarlison? I'd go to Foden. Gross or Palmer? Gross this week. Palmer or Alvarez? Who to bench? I'd bench Palmer. You don't bench Alvarez against Burnley, do you? Unless you know he's benched. Top 3 defenders in the long term. Trent, Walker, and Estupinian. I think Border would be quite close to that as well. Solanke to Haaland for a -4. Not this week. Start Gabriel or Borro. Borro. Should I bring Haaland in this week or next? I'd say next week. I wouldn't do it this week based on the information we have. Hey Dylan, start Areola versus Bournemouth or Martinez? Areola, just about. Son to Jota and Gross to Foden? Yes. I mean, the thing is with Gross, though, he is still a good option with great fixtures. And bear in mind, can you still afford Haaland with those moves? That's why I'd ask myself. Yeah, Gordon is a good shout, but mainly from Gameweek 23 onwards. Who should I bench? Palmer, Haaland, or Gabriel? I'd bench Gabriel from the free. KDB play, I think he'll start. He's definitely going to be in the squad. It's just a matter of will he start or not. Is Martinelli starting? That's a good question. I have a feeling he could start actually over Trossard, but I think what's actually best for Arsenal is if he's on the bench and comes on as an impact sub like he did against Palace. Start Gabriel Palmer. We've been asked this question like a million times, but I'm going to go for Palmer again. Gordon or Garnacho? I would go for Garnacho in this case. Also, Carlton Morris, just not really keen. The only Luton Town player I'd consider is Doughty, and even then they blank in Gameweek 26, and if they have a double in 25, it would involve Liverpool. Is De Bruyne starting? I think he will, but it's not a confirmation there. Yeah, this question is being spammed despite the fact that I answered it already, so I'm just going to... Yeah, I think it's already been dealt with. Has it? No, it hasn't. Let me just deal with it now. Okay, that's done. All right, so we've got 12 minutes left until the deadline. We've answered a lot of questions, some repeat ones, of course, which we tend to get anyway. But I'm now just going to lock in my team and put some polls out. So be sure to vote and also check out my channel and see all the polls I've put out on there. But now I'm going to ask a few team-specific questions and see what you lot think. So who are you captaining from these lot? From these players? And I'm just going to put the players on screen here. So Foden, Watkins, Bowen, and I think probably Saka's the alternative. Anyone else really for the captaincy? Not really. Not really. So yeah, we're 14 likes away from 200 likes. Be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. And also check all the links in the description below. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM. Join the Discord server, the FPL League, where we have thousands of members. And also check out Drafthound, which I showed you earlier in the stream. And I've been showing you in a lot of the recent videos as well. But yeah, I think from this set of players, yeah, probably I think those are the only captaincy options I'm looking at. So yeah, let's put this up. And then afterwards, I'll try to make another poll very quickly, which will be about benching dilemmas. And it'll include the likes of Saliba, a lot of you asking similar questions, Palmer, Pascal Gross potentially. So yeah, let's wait and see. And also I'd include maybe a defender or two in that equation. So let's see. Is Cole injury long-term? I don't think it's a long-term injury, but he's out for Gameweek 22, that's for sure. Yeah, 2000 man, good luck. Hopefully we both do well. Trent or Gabriel, who to start? Trent. Sell Saka for KDB or roll? I'd keep Saka and maybe sell him in Gameweek 23 for Jota and also use those funds to get Haaland back. Alvarez captain, I'm not against that. Start Haaland or Palmer? I would start Haaland. Start Trippier or Saliba? Saliba. KDB or Foden? Foden. Darwin says Sakib. I mean, he's in great form, and there's nothing better than an informed player to captain, but I think there are better options this week. Start both KDB and Haaland. If you have both, yes, you'd start both, but in terms of who's going to start, De Bruyne is more likely. Adnan says, buy Alvarez, Jota, KDB, Haaland, Areola, Stupinian, Borro, Trent, Foden, Richarlison, Bowen, Gordon, Palmer, Watkins, Solanke, bench, Gabriel Foster. Yeah, of those players, my preference would be to buy Jota or KDB for this week specifically. In the long term, the best ones are Jota and Haaland for me. Start Palmer or Gross? I would start Gross. Currently say Haaland doesn't start and Gabriel does. Yeah, Gabriel I've covered already. We pretty much know he's going to start, so I'm not really surprised about that. With Haaland, though, that is kind of up in the air. I haven't seen what kind of sources have said that, though. Yeah. Yeah, some questions have been answered already. I'm not going to go through that again, so I'm just going to go through different questions now. Thoughts about Walker captain? I think his ceiling is far too low. You're pretty much looking at 6-7 points, really. So, yeah, not for me. Start Gay or Saliba, says 4. I would start Gay. Hi Dylan, I see you Captain Foden. Would that change if you had Alvarez? I don't think so. It'd be a consideration, but I would favour Foden slightly more. We'll have to wait until FPL deadline to know if some will come back for Gameweek 23. 10 minutes injury time. Oh, wow. Yeah, so, yeah, thanks for that update. That's a long while there. FPL newsletter tweeted it and okay, thank you. Thank you, Goldhead. Yeah, if that's the case, FPL newsletter I do trust. I do trust them. They have gotten a lot of City news right. Let me actually check them out. We believe Haaland does not start tomorrow. Okay, they do say we believe. Yeah, the only time they got something wrong was due to Grealish getting an illness, basically. Yeah. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Thoughts about Bowen captain? He's got 1 goal and 1 assist in 3 games against Bournemouth, and he scored in Gameweek 1 this season against them. I think it's a good shout, and with Kudus back, I think it's a massive boost there. Nicholas Jackson back for tomorrow. I've never seen someone celebrate Nicholas Jackson like that. Mara says still undecided. Trent, Walker, KDB and Richarlison locked in. Douglas Luiz locked out. But then pick 3. Martinelli, Palmer, Borja, Stupinian. Yeah, so for those 4, I would bench Stupinian. And many thanks for the video. Always great content. I appreciate that, Mara, and thank you for becoming a channel member. Joao Pedro or Stupinian? Joao Pedro this week. Bowen captain, like I said, good option. I covered that just now. Hold Son or transfer to get Foden or Jota. I would transfer him out still, but it looks like South Korea will be eliminated and some will return in Gameweek 23. Start Doughty or Archer, says Adnan. I would start Doughty. Is a Stupinian necessary this week? You can roll. I personally think Luton Town will score. Palmer or Solanke, says Omabek. Solanke this week. I want to captain Richarlison, then go for it. That would be it. South Korea, Saudi Arabia into the 96th minute, so just a few minutes left. We might even see a case where the game ends as soon as the deadline is over. Jackson is better than Broya, says Jazabi. Yeah, I'm not saying much to be fair, but fair enough. So Foden did win this vote, and the other options got next to nothing. And of course, I didn't involve De Bruyne, Alvarez, and all these great options because I was just talking about my situation. But let's now do one more poll very quickly. We've got 6 minutes left until the deadline, soon to be 5. So make sure to lock in your teams now. So who would you bench from these players? And see what you lot think. But my current plan is to bench Saliba, and it has been throughout most of the week. So let's put Palmer, Estupinian, put Saliba, and Gross. I think those are the 4 options to bench, really. All right, so make sure to vote in this poll as well and get this stream to over 200 likes. It'd be massively appreciated. Hopefully there's no autocorrect. They tend to do that on Safari. FPL Tony suggesting KDB starts, Haaland does not. Yeah, that's not too surprising then. Yeah, KDB does start. Yeah, I think that will kind of cement it for people who are going in that direction. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I would love to go for KDB. I think it's a great option for Gameweek 22, but it would make it very difficult for me to get Haaland back. Of course, I mean, what I could do is buy KDB for 1 week, then sell KDB to Jota, and then do Archer to... I mean, could I do that? I mean, it's a difficult one, but I might be priced out of such moves unless I sell, let's say, Saka, for example. Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I think, yeah, if I were to bring in KDB this week, it would involve a -4 hit next week. But let me know, are you buying KDB in right now, following the news by FPL Tony? I'll try to get it up on screen. For those of you that aren't aware, it looks like KDB starts and Haaland is on the bench, which has also been talked about by, by FPL Newsletter. So yeah, I just saw it. All right, let's bring this up on screen. Thank you to Goldhead and the others who mentioned it. So this is the tweet. Think KDB could be a better pick than Haaland for this week. Yeah, so of course he's not saying it. Well, he is literally saying it, but kind of being a bit sly about it. A lot of people do that, but yeah. Not too surprising there. Do I start Douglas Luiz or Palmer? I'd probably still go for Palmer, but they're both on penalties. That's the thing. And Luiz has the better fixture. Palmer is better from open play, but Luiz is a bonus points machine. And to be fair, they both are. But Luiz literally just needs 1 assist, and he's in for 2 or 3 bonus points. Tricky, very tricky. You You know what? I'd probably say Luis. KDB captain, says Harry. Good luck. Switch Alvarez to Foden captain. Says Twisted Parky. I think both are good options. Back your gut. With this news, KDB starting, Haaland's on the bench. That looks pretty good. If KDB starts, then does Foden start? I still think he starts, to be fair, yes. 2000 man says South Korea. What, did they score? Let me check that quickly. Yes, South Korea have scored, so they're still in it. And it was Gusong Cho who have kept South Korea in it in the 99th, 99th minute, Jesus. So South Korea still have a chance of going through. We won't find out if South Korea eliminated unless Saudi Arabia score now before the match ends officially, before extra time. We're 5 likes away from 200. Be sure to smash the like button. Let's get to 200 likes before the deadline. We have less than 2 minutes away, and as you can see, it looks like KDB starts while Haaland doesn't. Let me know, are you going for Haaland or are you going for De Bruyne? Are you going to buy him in and captain him? Let me know. I'd be very interested to see your thoughts. KDB doesn't have a great record against Burnley, but in all competitions, it's 3 goals and 6 assists in 15 games. Yeah, tricky one. Not gonna lie, very, very tricky. So yeah, I'm kind of looking at it here, and let's say if I were to bring in KDB, it would be what, for probably Gross or Saka? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not so sure about that with KDB. But yeah, him starting is kind of what we all expected. Of course, still some apprehensions, but now it looks pretty much confirmed. And we've got 1 minute left to lock in our teams. I've got Foden as my captain right now. Watkins is my vice. And yeah, it's looking pretty good overall, but no Haaland in my team and no Diogo Jota. There are obviously some key absentees. I think rolling is still what I'm looking to do, though. I'm quite happy with the squad overall, and it's probably the best thing to do. Locked in Darwin cap, good luck. I'm definitely buying in KDB now. I need to attack the moves. Yeah, that's fair enough, to be fair. That is fair enough. I mean, it's a great move, isn't it? Start Haaland. It looks like he's benched, though, according to some reliable sources, so let me know. Start Zinchenko or Haaland, knowing that Haaland is benched. I think I'd still go for Haaland. Off the bench, you could still get 20, 30 points. Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking, we've got seconds to go. My problem with making such a move is that I'd require -4 hit next week. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not even so sure if I can do that. I'm just going to stick with Foden and stick with my team. I'm not going to make a late change this time around. And we are locked in. That is it. 6 PM deadline. And Gameweek 22 is officially locked. We've got the South Korea game going on now. Keep an eye out for that, for some news about Heung-min Son and whether he'll be back in Gameweek 23. And also the likes of Hwang Hee-chan, who can't be ignored. 35% of you went for Saliba on the bench. 30% Gross. 26% Palmer. So in the end, I didn't go for Jota. And I also didn't buy Erling Haaland or De Bruyne. But I'm not going to lie, I was tempted after seeing that news about Kevin De Bruyne. I think he's going to do very well this week. Good luck to all of you. Captain KDB or Foden. I think, well, with the news that we know that KDB will start now, I'd probably favour him a little bit more. So my final captaincy ranking is probably KDB first, Foden second, Alvarez third, Watkins fourth. And in fifth, I'd probably go for Bowen. I think he'd be fifth. Trippier or Garnacho? I would have gone for Garnacho this week, but I don't expect much from either in Gameweek 22. Would you consider Pedro as captain if you had him? Yeah, I'd consider him. But I think still the top 5 I mentioned would be ahead of him. We're locked in. Start Areola or Leno? I would have gone for Leno, but quite a close call. Foden to KDB? No. Start Zinchenko or Haaland, knowing that Haaland is benched? Yeah, covered. Bought in Haaland now despite the benching. Good luck, SOCLH. I'll probably be buying him in Gameweek 23. Good luck as well, Lager, and to everyone else watching. Saliba, Bedra Bodro, or Zinchenko? I would have started Bedra Bodro. Omega Omar puts his team. Would you have changed anything? Not really. You could argue Saliba over Stupinian, but I've personally gone for pretty much the same setup as you, with Saliba first on the bench. So yeah, I think that's fine. Is Foden starting? We don't have confirmation of that, but we hope he does. I captain KDB, have Foden and Alvarez too. Yeah, good luck. Last second captain Alvarez and vice captain Foden. Let's wait and see. Last minute changes or last second changes can always go one way or the other. Let's now quickly go for some quick predictions before we wrap up this video. We've been streaming for a long time, by the way, for 2.5 hours since 3:30 PM UK time. Forest Arsenal, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Arsenal win, but Arsenal have lost the last 3 meetings at the City Ground. Fulham versus Everton, I'm probably going to go for a 2-1 Fulham. Luton Town Brighton, I think, you know what, I'm going to go for a draw. 2-2. Palace, Sheffield United. I'm going to go for 1-0 Crystal Palace. Aston Villa, Newcastle. 2-1 Aston Villa. Man City, Burnley. Probably 4-0 Man City. Yeah, 4-0 or 5-0. I'm kind of stuck between those two. Yeah, I'm going to go for 5-0. 5-0. Spurs, Brentford. 2-1 Spurs. Liverpool, Chelsea, 3-1 Liverpool. West Ham, Bournemouth, I'm going to go for 2-1 West Ham. And Wolves, Man United, 2-1 Wolves. You know what? West Ham, Bournemouth, 3-2 West Ham. And yeah, Wolves, Man United, 2-1 Wolves. Those are my predictions. I'll probably update them in the Discord server. Be sure to join that. And there is a prediction channel where you can put all your predictions there, provided there already by Waysang. And there are so many different tools there. Also, Drafthound, be sure to check that out. I'll show you that very soon. I'll show you it now. So you can see all these different tools, the predicted lineups, you can see expected minutes, the player comparison tool as well. You can create your own and see what people are doing in the popular comparison section. But yeah, you could easily create your own. Let's say, for example, we'll put Jota and we'll put Foden, I guess. Yeah, they're pretty good ones to go for. So there you go. It's as simple as that. You create a comparison, but they are already in the featured section, by the way. Fixture analysis, you've got the chance of keeping a clean sheet over the next 5 game weeks, and Liverpool are in the top 2, despite blanking in game week 26. And the same goes for the attacking data, the chance of scoring 2+ goals. And you've also got the player rankings. And look, they've already updated the Gabriel one. He's still really high up, but at least he's not first anymore. They've also got the assistant manager tool where they recommend transfers. So Solanke to Alvarez was their top suggestion. And recently it was Bowen to Jota. And you've also got the optimization tool here, which will pretty much rank your best captain and vice captain in order. And they recently updated it to Saka being the vice with 5.9 expected points, and Palmer's gone down to 5.4. And there is a new feature called player scouting, and they've got different tools here, such as the expected points over the next 5 games, which is a new feature on Drafthound. And you can see pretty much everything you need to in terms of ownership, price, position, also their role in the team. Are they a key man? Are they a rotator? You know, maybe even Jota, for example. If we search for him, you will see that his minutes are always going to be a bit of an issue. It says rotator, but he's so consistent in terms of his FPL returns, and he gets a lot of, you know, goals and assists off the bench in limited minutes. So be sure to check this out. Drafthound, there's a link in the description below, and I'll put a link right now in the live chat just so you don't miss it. But yeah, I appreciate those that have been signing up as well with my link. But yeah, let's put this link again in the live chat. Yeah, I think oh wow, surprised I was able to put it. Normally there's a character limit. Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you to Focal for raiding the stream. I appreciate it, and everyone else who's been tuning in. Yeah, so I just saw it now. I can tell. Yeah, so we've got over 200 likes as well. Much appreciated to everyone, and we've still got a decent number of people watching. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. Big up to everyone who has just joined in. Let's go back to my team just so you can see. For those that are new here, I did captain Foden and put Watkins as the vice. I rolled a transfer, and what I'm looking to do is have 2 free transfers in Game Week 23 and potentially bring back Haaland and maybe a Diogo Jota, especially if Liverpool have a double in Game Week 25. I benched Saliba. Let's see how that turns out, of course. And I was actually very tempted to change the captaincy to Ollie Watkins and even make a late transfer and buy Kevin De Bruyne. It looks like he's starting whilst Haaland is on the bench in Game Week 22. Switch Richarlison for KDB. I hope he does well against Burnley, says Kiratex. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, to be fair. I mean, the thing is, Richarlison, he blanks in Game Week 26, De Bruyne doubles in 25, and has great fixtures. But yeah, Richarlison's actually a good option this week, in my opinion. Well, no, Haaland is available for selection. He's in the squad. That doesn't mean he starts. And he hasn't played since the 6th of December against Aston Villa, so it makes sense for that to happen. Get down as a raid, fair enough. I have Solanke and Senesi too, hoping Senesi assists, says Leonardo. Oh yeah, well, good luck with that. I predicted a 3-2 West Ham win, and hopefully that means a big return from Solanke, but I wouldn't mind if Senesi did well as well, to be fair. Captain Alvarez with Bone Vice is okay. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And to be fair, if I had Alvarez and not Foden, I probably still would have Captain Alvarez anyway. I have Captain Alvarez with Foden as vice. So yeah, once again, massive shout out to Focal for raiding the stream. It's massively appreciated, and to everyone who's been joining in. I went for KDB for Saka last minute and captain him. Can still get in Haaland next week. That's good. If I could do that as well, I would have bought in KDB with no hesitation. But yeah, if I did bring in KDB, it would have required a -4 hit minimum in Gameweek 23. Didn't I hear the guy doing the bots just had to abandon, says Twisted Parky. Yeah, I saw that. We're talking about it on the Discord server as well. Thank you, FPL Folk. Likewise, much appreciated, mate, and all the best with Gameweek 22. And thank you, James D, and to the new subscribers and viewers. Better than yours, that's for sure, says Thomas. Oh, let me see what you're talking about there. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Is Eze a good captain choice? For this week particularly, I mean, I'm predicting a 1-0 win for Palace. Eze could score the only goal and get maximum bonus points, but I'm just not too convinced about Palace offensively to really go for something like that, in my opinion. I went Haaland captain and KDB vice. Yeah, the thing is with Haaland, it looks like he's going to be off the bench, but even then, with 20-30 minutes, 1 or 2 goals is possible. He's got 5 goals in 2 appearances against Burnley. You know, he scored a brace in Gameweek 1 this season and scored a hat-trick in the FA Cup in the last campaign. Captain Bowen, good luck. He was actually in my top 5 the captaincy options. I panicked, changed captain to Foden from Alvarez and vice Trent. Well, hopefully you do very well. Yeah, my captaincy record isn't great, so just warning you in advance. Foden or Richarlison captain. Well, the deadline is locked in, but I would have gone for Foden, which you can also see on screen. Joao Garotta says, good luck, everyone. Scared of KDB this week. Yes, he's got 3 goals, 6 assists in 15 games across all competitions against Burnley. I think in the Premier League he's only got 2 goals and 3 assists, though, but still, he could easily get a massive return. Leanne says, I had 2 transfers, got KDB captain and Jota. I like that. And to be fair, your midfield probably looks better than mine. Good luck. Selected Ariola over Pickford, but now regret my choice. To be fair, it's kind of minimal. I don't expect either team to keep a clean sheet. And in my prediction, I went for both teams to concede twice. Captain Haaland with Richarlison vice, but I used transfer to bring Elise. That could be a great 1-week punt. I'm just not a big fan of Elise in the long term. He's picked up a lot of injuries in recent months, and Palace are just, yeah, they can have the odd game where they look pretty, you know, entertaining with Elise and Eze, but you can't really rely on them FPL-wise, in my opinion. Keratek says, switch Richarlison for KDB. I hope he does well against Burnley. Yep. Well, he probably will, mate. So it's just a matter of how many. Exactly why I went for KDB. I didn't want to be scared. I wanted to be the scary one. Fair enough. I think KDB will bank a bunch of points. Yeah. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I regret not going for him. But there you go. Going for the long play, and let's see how it all pays out in the end. And yeah, we've got 227 likes. Thank you very much. Be sure to drop one on your way out. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and smash the like button. Probably a sign I should stop the stream because I can't even speak English right now. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, for all the latest FPL and UCL fantasy updates. I uploaded a UCL Fantasy Matchday 7 first draft video yesterday. Be sure to check that out. There's also going to be a latest draft video and a team selection. And the plan is to also do a deadline stream, despite the fact that I will be away around that time. The same goes for 2 FPL deadline streams, but the plan is still to do some, maybe in advance. And there's also the link to Drafthound and the Discord server, the FPL League. Be sure to check all of those links. And I also have a link tree with every single link you need for every fantasy format possible. And also the Patreon and channel memberships, I'd highly recommend. I gifted 5 memberships in this stream and 5 in the previous one as well. So thank you to everyone for watching. Leonardo, all the best luck to you. And to Keratex, have a good day. I captain Dr. Phil, same here, Kai. Hopefully he can deliver, and it's not going to be yet another victim of the captaincy curse. Wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 22 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.